You know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100% ready to go. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there.
And that's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, it is finally here. We've been waiting all offseason for 8 months, getting ready for this Notre Dame Texas A&M game. It's a Friday of TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. So no more talk. We actually get to talk about a game tomorrow, 6:30 at Kyle Field. So many storylines in this one, but it's all about the football. We could talk about Coach Elko's debut. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about the quarterback battle. We'll talk about some position battles throughout this Go Hour. In fact, we'll go to the desk with my columnist, my buddy, my Heisman Trophy voter, and the guy who knows how to eat great food, Olin Buchanan. OB, matchups in this one. I know we're going to get into some of those, but one that I wanted you to kind of think about for a moment is our linebackers, Texas A&M's linebackers, who are very good, against, to me, a very elite tight end room that has a stud in Mitchell Evans, who's coming back from injury. He's one of the best tight ends in all of football last year. He's a stud. But that whole room is very good, great at catching the ball. Cooper Flanagan is more of a blocking tight end for them. But Eli Reardon and, of course, as I mentioned, Mitchell Evans, those guys can catch in the wings and make some plays happen. That's a matchup that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, we all know that a tight end it's just a great weapon if you have an athletic tight end. Because of mismatches. Now, I would wonder if they're in coverage, that's not going to be more a safety responsibility. Now, sometimes the linebacker's going to be there. It's just that's how the matchup's going to go. But I'm betting that they're going to roll up a safety. I don't know if it'll be Bryce or whoever is going to start the other safety. But let's say it was, Trey Jones or who's the other big kid out of. I'm still learning.
Dalton Brooks is the
best. I was thinking the other big old kid, about 6'3", out of San Diego State. Anyway, in some situations, I would think you might see a guy like that taking on the tight end because maybe just the physical matchup isn't as extreme. But I guarantee you, they've got some plans for that. We'll see how they execute.
Well, hold that thought for a second, because I do want to remind everybody today at around 10 o'clock, Dr. Pepper is going to be bringing the National Championship Trophy to this set. So at 10 o'clock, we will be having it here. The new era of college football has arrived. So while you're celebrating the new conferences, new playoff formats, and the all-new season of Fansville, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper. You can do that this Friday. That's today. Have your picture taken with the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. The trophy is going to be at the College Station Walmart 12 to 2, a little bit after this show, and then the Bryan Walmart on Briarcrest from 3 to 5. It's a football thing. It's a Pepper thing. And again, it'll be in this studio at some point during the 10 o'clock hour. We're looking forward to that. As you were saying, OB, it doesn't always fall on the linebackers, but it is something for us to consider. Damian Sanford had a great camp. Scooby Williams is learning the position. He's looking really good. I mean, they've got some dudes that can do it. Mm-hmm. Now's a chance to prove it.
And I don't think the speed matchup is going to be a problem. I think you're more concerned if it's a linebacker with the size issue, But again, I think what they're going to look at is from play to play. Maybe they don't know who's going to be covering the tight end, right? From one play to another. It'll be linebacker sometimes. Sometimes it'll be a safety. Shoot, they might send the nickel back over there on occasion. But one thing about A&M, whatever the situation is after watching Elko coach here 3 years. Or however long it was, maybe it was 4. I feel good about whatever the situation is that A&M defensively is going to at least have a plan for whatever they're going to face.
Here's the part that I'm excited about is, yes, he's going to have a plan, and so will Jay Bateman, but they'll have a plan that evolves during the game, one that adjusts to what's happening, because we've seen it time after time with a Mike Elko team when he was the defensive coordinator and even his time at Duke as the head coach. As things happen, he'll take things away in the second half.
Yeah, and hopefully even before. But that tight end situation with Notre Dame, especially if Evans is right, that could be
he's a stud.
Yeah, that could be a tough situation for the Aggies, or a tough matchup. But like I said, I think they're going to. Maybe he doesn't know who's going to be guarding from time to time, from play to play.
By the way, this is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of the mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Let's give away a coffee, OB. Yeah. What do you think?
How about let's give away a coffee for number 3 for the 3 Palomo brothers.
Number 3. All right, the third
Guayo,
texter.
Federico, and
they're all coming to town.
And Francisco. I'm sure they're all here now.
They're probably already here. 979-693-1150.
Maybe Eduardo's bringing some coffee with him.
Let's hope. Text in the word coffee, and the third person who texts that number at 979-693-1150 will get themselves a free bag of TexAgs coffee. All right, OB, let's run our mouths a little bit. 3 things we want to see, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes, located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. OB, first thing you want to see.
Well, first, I want to see that A&M defensive line play up to the hype that has been put on that. We expect that defensive line to be dominant. I want to see it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially with what looks like the issues on Notre Dame's offensive line.
Here's the thing. I think that O-line from, again, everybody's got, not everybody. A lot of times when you talk to insiders, they're going to give you a favorable review of the situation, right? Yeah, the O-line is new, but they've been great at camp. Okay, that's normal. Here's my thing. I don't care how good you are. The communication between an offensive line that has no experience together, much less no experience at the collegiate level, to me is a big question. So when you are Jay Bateman and Mike Elko, you are going to try to confuse them. Sam Houston confused the A&M defensive line a couple years ago with the twists and turns and all, so I fully expect it to be an issue for the O-line, even if they are studs as they learn the position and learn how to work as a group against somebody that you don't play against every day.
Right. It's going to be the best defensive line, I believe, that Notre Dame's going to face all season. So take advantage of that or capitalize on that perceived advantage. Yep. Make it true. Secondly, I got to see A&M run the football effectively. Mm-hmm. We talked about Clemson ran the football effectively at Notre Dame, won the game. Louisville ran the ball effectively on Notre Dame last year, won the game. Duke ran the ball effectively and probably would have won had their starting quarterback not gotten hurt. So run the football effectively, and of course that puts a lot of emphasis on the offensive line being better than it was last year.
Yep, no doubt about that. Let's talk about your other things you want to see.
Well, the third one, you said 3, so dominant defensive line, run the football effectively, and Connor Wigman.
Be Connor Wigman?
Be Connor Wigman, which a big part of that is avoiding interceptions, right? So I want to see that accuracy from Connor Wigman because we've talked about this before. Notre Dame, 16 interceptions last year. They got ball hawks back there. But in their 3 losses, 1 interception combined in those 3 losses. Don't give Notre Dame anything easy.
OB, I want to see the same thing you just said from Connor, because I want Connor to look like the Connor we've seen for most of his career at A&M. But here's the difference. And this is not necessarily on Connor, but I want to see Connor look like Connor with the win. Okay? We've seen Connor look really good in losses, right? Ole Miss, his debut, he looked fantastic. They weren't able as a team to win that game. Miami, he might have been his best performance, and they ended up losing the game. So they did beat LSU. He wasn't the headliner in that game. That was Devon Achane a couple years back, but he was really good in that game. Right. I want to see a Connor Wigman's game that we've seen against Ole Miss, we've seen against Miami and others, where A&M comes away with a victory. That's an obvious one, but I want him to get some wins against ranked opponents on his resume.
Yeah, absolutely. One more than LSU, right? So I think if Connor Wigman, I think first off, avoid the interceptions. Of course, that's what he wants to do, but that's what he's always done for the most part. And then I don't know that I'm going to be expecting a 300-yard passing performance out of him, but a nice completion percentage. Just get 200 to 250 yards passing. If you get more than that, consider it a bonus. But number one, take care of the football. Make good reads and good throws.
Take care of the football is exactly right. All right, the other one I want to see is an O-line that impresses us. So I want elite offensive line, but let's have an offensive line, at least in their debut, that we feel satisfied. Like, hey, that was a good meal. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about it. And what defensive line will A&M play the rest of the year that's better than Notre Dame's? And I don't know that there is one.
I don't know if they'll play a better defense than Notre Dame's.
Maybe not, but I know LSU, they all off season, there was all the talk about how
the defense is going to be better.
Well, the defense is going to be better, but the defensive line, they lost the defensive tackles to the NFL. They couldn't get anybody in the portal. Texas lost the two big guys to the NFL. I don't know if they're going to be nearly as good on the defensive line. I doubt it. Missouri lost guys to the NFL out of their defensive front. So this is the best defensive line you're going to face all year if you can go out and have success against this team. Like I said, running the football, protecting Connor, then why shouldn't you be confident that you can do it the rest of the year?
And here's the other thing I want to see, Obi. Look, you can call me greedy, you can call me selfish, it's fine. I want at least, and I know this is a high number, I think it's a high number, I want at least 5 sacks from that defensive line.
Okay.
I don't care if we get more from, like, if Torian wants to throw in a couple, Bryce, I don't care if we have 12. But I would, and I know I'm asking for a lot, but I would love to see 5. Let's just call it 5+ from the team. 5+ from the team.
5+ from the team. Yeah, who wouldn't want to see it? Obviously would want to see more. The only thing better than a sack is a quarterback under pressure throwing the ball.
Interception.
Errantly and getting an interception. But, yeah, I want to see all that pressure. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Again, Nick Scorton coming in here, 2 sacks last year against Michigan. The Shamar brothers, they certainly have the ability to get to the quarterback. Hey, Cassius Howell.
Yep.
Watch out for what that guy. I think he could be a real problem in this game.
You may hear me mention his name a little bit later.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible. And again, like we said before, everything projects is that you have a decided advantage with your defensive front against their offensive line. Go ahead and prove it. Make it a fact.
All right. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us. You can text us, 979-693-1150. We are checking our YouTube page. Go to TexAgs on YouTube. You can see us there live. We'll chat with you throughout the show. Also on TexAgs.com. That chat is open as well. As I mentioned, you can text the show. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. We go behind the glass. And Nick Savage, with the principal right next to him. Josh Olsey's there. Good morning, buddy.
Absolutely. Good morning. Got to make sure I don't act up. But one thing I want to see, I just had this thought. Matthew Dawson informed me that A&M averaged they averaged 70 plays per game last year, which was 49th in the country. So I'd like to see, maybe get that average up a little bit, or maybe hit over that average, maybe 80 plays per game. That would tell you they got that tempo up. The offense is moving well. So hopefully we see that. And that's more so over the course of the season, I know. But I expect to see that average go up is basically what I'm getting at.
So what?
Yeah, it's going to go up. Tomorrow in particular, though, I think both teams are going to run a lot.
Yeah, I could see that. It depends on how successful you run, though, right?
Yeah.
By the way, going back to your sacks point, 5 sacks you're asking for. Yeah. A&M had at least 5 sacks in 4 games last year. They had 7 against Auburn, 7 against Arkansas, 6 against Alabama, 5 against Mississippi State, only 4 against South Carolina. So, yes,
So, of those teams, who had the best offensive line?
Probably Alabama. Had 6, but you don't have Edgerrin Cooper.
You don't.
But Cassius Howe could fill that role.
But
you have Nick Scorton as well.
But why is my voice going so high?
I don't know, but Notre Dame only has, 6 starts, career starts among its offensive line?
Let's see how many butts I can do. But what else?
But you can't ever take anything for granted. You got to go out and
I
do
wanted
it.
more. I wanted more, OB. Shall we go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
We shall.
McKinley Polansky making her debut, at least at the desk. I know you helped us out last week. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm good. What's going on in your world?
Obviously, Texas A&M kicks off the new season versus Notre Dame tomorrow at Kyle Field at 6:30 p.m. And College Game Day will be live at Aggie Park from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time or 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. And Johnny Manziel was announced as College Game Day's Week 1 guest picker in College Station. So exciting. And another thing is several Texas A&M commits are expected to be in College Station to watch Elko's debut as head coach of the Aggies, along with several top prospects in the 2026 and 2027 classes.
Was it like 120, something like that? It's a ridiculous
over
number.
100.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking several's kind of an understatement. It's like over 100.
A lot.
Yep. McKinley, are there any text messages or YouTube chats that you want to get to?
There are. Kyle Perlowski said Elko elevated the least talented or close to it roster in the ACC to a 9-win team in 1 year. If he improves A&M that much, top 10 in talent nationally, what does that equate to?
Obi, we said it yesterday on the show. A&M has done the least with the most, and I think Coach Elko at his time in Duke did the most with the least. And it'll be interesting when those two worlds combine because I think he's going to get the most out of this roster. And oh, by the way, this roster is a top 10 roster.
Well, I think it certainly looks that way. And, yeah, Mike Elko did get a lot out of a little in Duke, and that's why he's here now. Got to see it, right? I'm still going to take that Missouri approach. You got to show me. But, coming into the season, here on New Year's Eve, I'm feeling, I'm feeling very optimistic about what Elko's going to get done here. And I don't think 10 wins is out of the. I don't think it's out of the question. In fact, if they win tomorrow night, I think you're going to hear national people say that they're going to get 10 wins. So
and depending on how, if and how they win. John in Cyprus says the average plays won't go up, talking about Nick's comment because of the way Coach Elko plays. I think that's still a TBD based on Colin Klein being his offensive coordinator. But I know your point because it is going to be, you would expect a defensive-minded coach wants to have a little more ball control.
Well, the way I look at it is if you got a really good defense the way I think A&M is projected to have, then the other team may get a lot of 3-and-outs and gives you more opportunities to run plays.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, what do we got, OB? We've got, your matchups. We got matchups.
Matchups?
Let's go into, you wrote a great column. Let's go into the matchups, shall we?
We shall.
We did a little bit with tight end and linebacker. Let's go even deeper. Let's go quarterback. Let's go wide receiver. Let's do it all. Right now, though, you guys need to go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and use the code TexAgs to be a part of it. So yesterday, I started playing. Matthew Dawson helped me. We did a little bit on the fan show, and I'm having some fun. I don't know if I can read the screen in front of me, but I know some of my picks. By the way, if you play Jalen Milroe, you're gonna make some money. That's what I'm saying right now. But you got Jalen Milroe in mind. You've got Le'Veon Moss, Moose Muhammad, Jaden Greathouse. I chose the less. The more with Jaden Greathouse because I think he's going to have more than 36.5 yards. Riley Leonard, I think he's going to have less than 194 yards. You can play. You can see how you're doing. You can text us your screenshot of how you're playing the game. But PrizePicks basically is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in America. The easiest, most exciting ways to play DFS is just you against the numbers. So instead of battling thousands of players, including the pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 players stat projection out there. And there's a couple things that they're doing on a Friday, and I'm glad Dawson sent this to me. Today's Flex Friday. In the PrizePicks world, it's no sweat entry. As long as you opt in on PrizePicks, you can play a flex play and get your money back if you lose. Another really great promotion by them. Oh, I forgot, Matthew, you put my picks right here. So as I mentioned, I got Jalen Milroe more than 0.5 passing yards. Yes, you'll make some money. Go do it. It is our good friends at PrizePicks DFS, the website, prizepicks.com/TexAgs with the code TexAgs. Go join us and check it out. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the brand new Rollo Insurance studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, and it's a Friday before the game, buddy. It's Friday, and we've got lots to do.
Like I said, it's New Year's Eve, New Season's Eve. I'm looking forward to it. Got a lot of things going on this evening. I got the Irish invasion coming to my house later today. So much festivity this weekend, and you just hope that it's all leading up to a big A&M victory tomorrow.
Keep that shot on OB. It looks like you're literally standing in front of Kyle Field right now, or sitting in front of Kyle. Look at that.
We're close.
We are like in front of it, technically, but it looks like you are right in front of it. That's how clear these TVs that Josh bought.
Maybe give them an idea for a statue someday.
For Olin Buchanan?
thinker.
The thinker, OB.
Right there out in front of Kyle Field.
By the way, if you we have some great guests on the show.
Yeah, who we got?
We got David Pollack at 9 o'clock.
He's excellent.
I love David Pollack. Love him. We've got a guy, you may know him. He runs this company, executive editor, co-owner Billy Liucci.
Oh, the Italian guy.
Yeah, he's soft-spoken,
with the goatee.
real quiet. Yeah, we'll have Billy Liucci on the program from 9 to 11. And then people have been waiting. They've been camping out like for tickets. They've been camping out for the final countdown, the McKinney brothers.
The McKinney brothers. That's during football season. That may be my favorite hour of the entire TexAgs
That's
week.
interesting. It's the hour that I speak the least amount. Thanks, OB.
Well, those
Appreciate
guys are hilarious.
All right, let's get into your matchups. There are many that we can get into, but let's talk about what the national folks are going to be talking about.
Okay.
And I think the national folks are going to be talking about Riley Leonard versus Connor Wakeman, two elite quarterbacks in different ways, right? Coming back from injury, both having new situations. Connor has a new offensive coordinator, and we have, obviously, Riley going to a new program, which includes Mike Denbrock, who's an excellent offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I would. Look, are there similarities between the two? Yeah, they can both run. I think Riley Leonard is a more accomplished runner at this point than Connor, but Connor certainly has that ability. We saw it, for instance, against LSU in that big win. The ability to take off and extend the drive. That's what Riley Leonard can do. Connor is probably a better passer overall. At least from what I've seen. But there's no doubt that Riley Leonard is an excellent quarterback that did some great things at Duke. And he's a problem.
Yeah.
But Connor's a problem. They're both behind suspect offensive lines. What offensive line is going to help his quarterback the most? They both have receiving cores that are somewhat questionable. Without a doubt, they've got receivers with ability, but who's been a star on either team at this level? Nobody yet. So they're both looking for somebody to emerge as a star, but yet the quarterbacks both have star potential.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not even potential. Maybe it's already proven. So they don't go against each other, but when they're on the field, they create big problems for the defense because just having the right coverage isn't always going to be enough because they can throw the ball accurately and the ability to run if everything else is breaking down.
Follow me on this one. Let's just say, okay, that in this conversation, Riley Leonard's better with his legs than Connor. Okay? And I'm not saying that's a for sure, but let's just say that's okay. If that's the case, I will still say Connor is a much better thrower of the football than Riley Leonard is. So my point is, if Riley Leonard has the advantage there, Connor has it in the pocket.
Yeah. Is he a much better thrower? I haven't watched enough Riley Leonard. I've seen him play some games, and I've been impressed with him. But I have seen Connor. What I love about Connor is he's not trying to – not that anybody's trying to do this, but his completion percentages aren't boosted by always throwing check downs and always relying on the medium pass. If he sees an opportunity deep, Connor goes for it.
Yep.
I love that about him.
Yeah, I do too. Here's one from Cade and Curtin on the YouTube page. One matchup I'm looking forward to watching is the linebackers getting downhill and plugging the gaps to stop the run. A&M was good at stopping the run last year. We've discussed the why behind it. Some of it is because they were good at it. Some of it is, teams knew they could throw on them. So there's a combination of two. It's going to be harder to throw on this defense, in my opinion, based on the transfers that are playing. Because remember last year, I'm still waiting to meet Tony Grimes. I wanted to see him play. We didn't get to see him play, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, when some games A&M was reduced to a situation where they had to put true freshmen out there that weren't quite ready.
Yep.
Doesn't mean those guys aren't ready now, but at that point they weren't quite ready. Look, bringing in the blanket Will Lee and Mays and see, I'm already blanking on one of the guys.
Des Ricks, Will Lee, BJ Mays.
Bringing all these guys to boost what you already have and to where you feel like you can take one kid and move him from corner. Talking about, I'm having seen
Tyreek Chappelle moving him to nickel.
To the nickel. When you're able to do all these things, it does give you the feeling that A&M secondary, especially the corners, are going to be much improved.
Yep. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back, what do we got, OB? Oh, I know what we got. We got Pick 6 presented by Prize Picks. So you're going to pick some games.
Yeah.
You know who won last year?
Who won last year?
I don't remember. God, who? Oh,
was it a McKinney?
I won.
Did you?
Oh, I did.
Man, you talk about upset.
Yeah. Dominated, by the way.
Really?
I think I won by 1. I don't remember. I just won. So maybe, just a thought here, everybody who participates in the Pick 6 should take me to $17.75, and you get the order.
Well, that would be a great prize, no doubt. In fact, maybe that's what we ought to set down as the prize for whoever wins this year gets a trip to $17.75, because that's some big time meat.
Well, I'm like the NCAA players from the past that are getting paid for NIL or for years back. I want my $17.75 on you.
Yeah,
not on you, but on you.
I want that $17.75 food in me.
Yeah,
Get in my belly.
I'm very interested in the smoked barbacoa tacos. That just right now it feeds my soul. On Saturdays,
barbacoa tacos.
Yeah, check this out: raspberry chipotle pork belly burnt ends.
I love burnt ends.
I love burnt ends.
I guess they're just going to freak them with some raspberry chipotle stuff.
Whatever they like. Again, I'm sorry that I always bring up the mac and cheese there, but it's not just mac and cheese. It's queso macaroni. It's a different
queso macaroni and queso.
True statement, not an ad. A real endorsement. Best macaroni cheese I've ever had, and I'm a macaroni cheese enthusiast.
It was pretty spectacular. I have to agree.
Yeah, they're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stotzer Parkway, Suite C in College Station, 77845-979-492-6241. We can't wait to see you at 1775 and give you a little taste of what Texas has to offer. 1775txbbq.com. You strike me as a Bon Jovi guy.
I like Bon Jovi.
Yeah? Dead or Alive, good song?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
We're about halfway there through this first hour. I'm living on a prayer.
Well played, my friends. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, I know you're going to join us again at 9:50. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But at some point during the 10 o'clock hour, I've said it all week long, or the last couple of days, we're going to have a piece of hardware in this studio.
The trophy.
The National Championship Trophy, presented by Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's pretty cool that it's going to be here, you know.
I might kiss it.
Yeah.
I might, if they let me.
I would rather it be here like on January 30th than August 30th.
But I would like to feel its essence. I want to be around greatness.
Well, you are every day for the first hour of the show.
Yeah, you know, Nick does a good job in the back.
Yeah, he's a savage.
I wouldn't say great, but he's really good. He's elite.
Serviceable. Yeah.
He's great. The new era of college football has arrived, so while you're celebrating new conferences, new playoff formats, and the all-new season of Fansville, grab some ice cold Dr. Pepper. You can do that this Friday and get your picture taken with the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. It's going to be at the College Station Walmart, 12 to 2. Bryan Walmart from 3 to 5. It's college football. It's a Pepper thing. All right, let's do a little Pick Six. And this is brought to you by Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the very best, independently owned. And if you go to you go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and use the code TexAgs, you can join us, and they're going to give you a hookup, right? So make sure you go there, and they're going to hook you up. All right, OB.
Yeah.
Let's get started. McKinley Polanski is there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Polanski! Tell us the first game in our Pick Six.
Number 1, Georgia versus number 14, Clemson, which is at a neutral location, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And Georgia is favored by 13.5 points.
OB, I want it to be a good season for Dabo because I just like what he stands for. Mm-hmm. But he's going to lose by 20-plus points, in my opinion. I know that Clemson is expected to be better, but no. Georgia, if I'm Kirby Smart, I've been angry all offseason for not getting invited to the playoffs. Right. I've been thinking about this game. That's a beat down for Georgia.
Yeah, you know, I watched some Clemson last year, and the offense just wasn't very good. Cade Klubnik was struggling. How much better has he gotten? And do you want to have to prove how much better you've gotten against the Georgia defense? So I just kind of envision Clemson really struggling to score.
Yeah.
And maybe Georgia doesn't roll up a huge score either, but would a 27-7 final be that surprising?
No, wouldn't be surprising at all.
So I'll take Georgia and give the points.
All right, let's go to game number 2.
Number 8, Penn State at West Virginia. And Penn State is favored to win by 8.5 points.
I'm taking West Virginia in this one. I think Penn State wins, but I think they played really good football at the end of the year.
Yeah, West Virginia got better.
They did get better. And, you know, that doesn't always translate to the next season, but I think they're building something there. The town's going to be rocking. I feel like, what's his name, is doing his show there. Pat McAfee's doing his show this morning from there. He's going to fly back there after, I believe. I know he's coming here, obviously, for game day. But I think West Virginia is going to keep it close, and they're going to have a chance to win, but Penn State ends up winning.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves, Penn State beat them pretty bad last year. Mm-hmm. And I see it quite often that when that happens the next year, especially if you go to your home stadium, you know, you get a little retribution, and I think West Virginia will make a better accounting of themselves this year. Plus, I'm just not sold on Drew Allen, the Penn State quarterback.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We're going back to McKinley. McKinley, number 3.
Number 19, Miami at Florida, and Miami's picked to win by 2.5 points.
I typically pick the SEC team,
especially at home,
98% of the time.
Yeah.
And I almost did it. I almost you know what, Florida, you're going to get this one. But no, I can't. Look, I think Florida's going to be better, but they're not. There's a Nuñoism for you. They're not because their record's not going to reflect it. They're going to lose. And I'm predicting, as of right now, I hope I'm right, 2 losses for Florida in the first 3 weeks of the season. Miami wins tomorrow, and I believe the Aggies in a couple weeks will get their first road win in a few years.
Yeah, I had all those thoughts last night. I sent you a message saying I was picking Miami, and now I almost want to change it because I do have the policy always taking SEC teams, especially at home.
Yeah. That's a hard one for me, man.
Well, because I've never been that impressed with Miami either.
And then I gave you that stat that AT gave us that Cam Ward has had 40-plus fumbles in his career.
You know, let me be different if I may. If I may change
you can
my
do
pick.
whatever you want.
I'm going to take the Gators. Do I get points? Yeah, I get points. I only get 2.5.
But you're going to get those points.
I'm going to go ahead and take the Gators and probably kick myself on Saturday night.
One of us will, because I think I'm torn on this one. This one I could really go either way. Like I'm not torn about Georgia. I know it's a big number. Georgia's going to win by that. I'm not really torn by the Penn State game because I think it'll be closer than the 8.5. But this one, I could see it going either way. But I'm going to go with Miami. Polanski.
Number 23 USC versus number 13 LSU at Allegiant Stadium, which is a neutral location. And LSU is picked to win by 4.5 points.
I'm going back to my SEC roots here.
Yeah.
I know that Brian Kelly hasn't won his first game of the season since he's been at LSU. Of really good Florida State teams, right? I have more faith in Brian Kelly than I do Lincoln Riley. I think there's better athletes. Even though the offenses both struggle quite a bit, I still think LSU, neutral site game, wins that one.
LSU surges, Quinn Buchanan purges. It's going to be a big win for LSU. I know they're not in the Pac-12 anymore, but Pac-12 teams last year couldn't play defense. USC still, I don't think, will. I know LSU couldn't either, but I just think LSU will just outscore the Trojans.
All right, Ms. Polanski, let's do number 5.
Boston College at number 10, Florida State, and Florida State is picked by 15.5 points.
Big number, OB. Bill O'Brien, the other OB in my life, is actually pretty good at game planning. Game plan offense is what he used to call it with the Texans. I'm going to say that's a big number that Florida State wins because they have to win. But I think Boston College keeps it within the 15.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Florida State. After the debacle in Ireland, you're going to see a Seminoles team that is angry and trying to reestablish themselves and going to take all their frustration out on Boston College.
Yeah, I could see that. But for some reason, I think Boston College is going to keep it close.
I think it'd be hilarious if Boston College won. But I'm thinking.
Like North Dakota State almost did yesterday?
And probably should have if they'd gotten some, I guess, even officiating.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the next one. Polanski, I think we've been wanting to talk about this one.
Yes. Number 7, Notre Dame at number 20, Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is favored by 3.5 points.
I guess it's moved up a little bit.
That line's been really leaning toward A&M.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Aggies. I've said so for the last couple of weeks, and it's not because it's not a homer pick. In fact, again, they're favored.
I'm taking the Aggies too.
Yeah, the defensive line against the offensive line.
Home field.
Elko's first game, a better coach team. We talked about how with all the dysfunction, A&M was in an opportunity to win all those games in the fourth quarter last year. The Elko influence, I think, turns those close losses into some big wins.
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll bank on it, and we'll do Around Aggieland with Kay Naegeli. Right now, though, duck camp. So I was organizing my closet. You know I'm a nerd, right?
Oh, yeah.
I
think it's pretty common knowledge.
Fortunately, people who work here know that I like things organized. And because the duck camp gear is new, I have it in its own little section, right? So you go in my closet, I have my duck camp stuff, and everything else is color-coded because that's how I roll. And I was looking at the hoodies. I'm like, I can wear this in the heat because it's that kind of hoodie. You've done it.
Yeah, I've done it. And it I don't know how they do it, but there's something about the material or the way it's made that it actually, it's like ventilated and it cools you off.
It cools you off, sun protected, and also kind of makes you look jacked, OB. I saw the guns in them. You look good. Did Irma go like,
I thought maybe,
OB.
she does that anyway, but I thought maybe you were referring to yourself. That maybe
No.
looking at the full-length mirror.
No, it's
breaking into the warrior pose.
Many years of HGH and steroids helped me. But I'm kidding, by the way. Never have. Duck Camp gear ranges from new sunline protection of technical hunting, fishing apparel to your fan favorite Mallard Game Series hats. A bunch of those we have around the office. You've been wearing your hat.
I like that hat.
Yeah. Their Duck Camp gear is made for people that live for moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, football to watch. Check it out at duckcamp.com. That's duckcamp.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. All guests and callers will join us on the Boss Firearms Hotline. I don't know if I should be offended by this, or maybe I should think it's a very nice comment. Somebody on the YouTube page says that I am it's Texas trial lawyer, says Nuño is Generation X Ricky Ricardo. Is that a compliment? Lucy,
I think this guy's got some splaining to do.
Nicely played. Kay's like, what are you old people talking about?
Over my head.
Over your head. Well,
that's sad.
Hit the Google machine. By the way,
straight over my head.
I love Lucy was before I was born, but we at least got to watch TV shows that we didn't want to when we were growing up. You guys get to pick everything. All right, let's do a little bank on it. Presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more. VeraBank.com. Go.
I'm banking on Nick Scorton leading the way on that defensive line to play as well as we think they're going to do and keep a lot of pressure on Riley Leonard and quite frankly hold up against that running game.
I'm
banking on that D-line.
Well, I'm banking on something similar, but I'm going to give you a specific number.
Tell me.
Nick Gordon, Cassius Howell combined for 4 sacks. Those two. And then there's going to be more, but those two are giving us 4.
All right. I hope you're right.
Oh, well,
Take it to the bank.
Oh, be careful because I don't have any money. All right, now it's time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com, and with that we have Kay Naegeli.
Let's get to it. So football, everyone knows they take on number.
I need you happy. You're so focused on this game.
I'm dialed.
There we go.
I'm dialed. I'm ready to go because I have information to get to.
Watch. This is it. Kay Naegeli.
Let's go.
No, I want the happy.
So guys, there we go. Let's talk Aggies in the NFL.
I want Jason Howell at a murder scene presentation.
Oh,
have you ever seen? He's smiling no matter what.
He is. He's Jason Howell, TexAgs.
Hey, there was a tornado.
He did a little video report yesterday. I loved it. So Aggies in the NFL. We've talked a lot of college football. A&M obviously taking on number 7 Notre Dame. But I want to talk about some of these rookies and veterans that are returning in the National Football League. That will be 25 Aggies made 53-man rosters that were established this week. 4 are on practice squads and then 2 on IR. I want to list off just some of those rookies and how they had done throughout the camp. Damani Richardson is on the Carolina Panthers practice squad. McKinley Jackson on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's placed on IR with a knee injury. Edgerrin Cooper, he was back at practice on Tuesday after a brief hip injury. He's on the Green Bay Packers, so he made the 53-man roster. Jalen Jones with the Indianapolis Colts. He's a younger guy, as well as Antonio Johnson on the Jaguars. Devon Achane returning for year 2 in Miami. He should be a breakout player. Layden Robinson also on the New England Patriots, and then Anaya Smith is placed on IR with an ankle injury. But those are some updates from rookies.
Thank you very much, Kay. We appreciate you. OB, give me some final thoughts. You're going to come back at 9:50, but we've got about 2 minutes left. Give me some final thoughts.
Well, just we've gone into so many football seasons with all this excitement, all this hope, and all this anticipation. And, I really don't want to allow myself to be this optimistic, but just the Elko effect, the Moffitt effect, the new special teams coordinator, new offensive coordinator, all the changes. I think I'm allowing myself to start doing it again and believing, another bit that a big season is finally coming.
Hey, we got about 2 minutes left in the segment, but I do want to say this. This is a pretty big deal. David Pollack's already on the show. Usually celebrities like David Pollack show up when it starts. They have a handler. He's early. He's already attentive. He's going to be joining the show here in a moment.
Well, you expect that from a high school football coach. They're always organized and ready to go.
He is the bomb. So we're going to chat with him here in a moment. Morning, David and OB. This is from Chad in Odessa. Which wide receivers do you pick to make clutch, big catches that turn the tide of the game tomorrow? You pick one. Or 2.
Noah Thomas. Noah probably 2 touchdowns because Noah brings in things by 2.
Okay. Noah Thomas, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, David Pollack and I once had a really
I remember
outstanding discussion about
Johnny Manziel.
About Johnny Manziel in Orlando, Florida.
I'm sure he remembers seeing you.
I doubt it.
Yeah, me either. I forgot your name earlier in the show. All right, I'm going to pick.
You to pick.
Do I do it, OB? Do I push the button?
Do it. Push the button.
Do I push it?
Push it.
Where's the button? I'm not supposed to have coffee up here. Where's the button? Terry Bussey. Boom.
Terry Bussey.
Okay. And
first game as a freshman. Do it like a Christian Kirk against Arizona State.
I'm just saying he's going to do something spectacular, okay?
Okay.
It will probably be a couple catches. You're like, wow, look at this kid. And then he's going to have
a long return.
A special teams return that we're like, oh, there's that kid.
Let's see some good special teams for a change.
This is a Maroon Kool-Aid hour, my friend. It's the first game of the season.
We're drenched in it.
We are. All right, so when we come back on TexAgs Live, David Pollack will join us there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll get to that. We'll have Billy Liucci on the show. We have a lot to get into. We'll talk to you guys, like Chuck Woolery says, in 2 and 2. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Before we get to the hotline, I want to read this. The new era of college football has arrived. As you know, we're going to have the National Championship Trophy on this desk here in a little bit, thanks to Dr. Pepper. If you're ready for the new playoff formats, the new season of Fansville, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper, and you can do that this Friday and have your picture taken with the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper at the College Station Walmart from 12 to 2 and the Bryan Walmart on Briarcrest from 3 to 5. College football, it's a Pepper thing. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by a guy that I'm a huge fan of, David Pollack, here on the program. David, good morning, man. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So first thing, can you tell us a little bit about the Pollack Family Foundation? I know it's something that's very important to you there in the Georgia area. Just tell us a little bit how it got started and the why behind it.
You know, me and my wife, man, we've been blessed, and so I think when we got drafted by the Bengals, we started a foundation there, and then when we left, we came back to Georgia. We started one here, and just to be able to give back and find needs and serve others. We just gave away a car a couple months ago, which was one of the cooler things we've done. Just write in why you falling on hard times and how we can help. And so we literally donated a car to somebody. We do a banquet of blessings every November where we bus in homeless and those struggling in the community around. We had 942 people that we brought in, and we served them a Thanksgiving meal and served them drink, and then got them gloves and scarves and hats and sleeping bags and coats, and they got brand new, stuff, kind of like Christmas morning for them to just kind of serve them and love on them. And so we just find different areas in the community where you can plug in and try to make some bit of a difference.
David, I was so happy to see that you started a YouTube channel because I miss you on TV, man, and I actually now have become a guy that gets most of his content from the YouTube space. So just talk a little bit about getting your college football thoughts and having a platform.
It's weird. I mean, it's very different. I don't know this world very much when it comes to YouTube. I know, how to use it and stuff like that. But just, man, I love college football. And I drive my family crazy. And I drive them nuts. And I'm going to coach my son for the next, 3 years. He's got 3 seasons left in high school. I coach my baby girl on the varsity basketball team. And so I'm not going to travel. I'm not going to go all over the place. But I just love college football. And I watch it every time with an analyst eye, and I'm like, golly, that's a really cool point. I would love to share that. And so I'm going to give this a try. Listen, it's not going to be a lot of fluff. I'm going to talk football. We're going to talk ball. We're going to be very positive. I'm going to point out things that people are doing in the community and just talk football. And if you like football, I think you'll enjoy it.
I do want to talk about the changing landscape in sports media, though. I mean, you see stuff changing at Fox and at ESPN. You've had a very classy approach since you left ESPN. What do you think about this new world that we're in? Because there's all these moving parts, but also the opportunities that weren't there before, like your new channel.
First of all, that was the nicest way I've ever heard anybody tell me that I got fired.
No.
Since you left that world. It is. It's kind of cool because I think everybody has the ability to get their thoughts and their opinions out. And I think that's really cool. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. And if something that you want to start that you're passionate about and people can, resonate with your passion and you can start to, build something that's kind of cool. So I think it's neat. I think it's different. I think it's something that will continue because it's, technology's gotten so much better. And then once we entered the Zoom world, with COVID and stuff, you could do so much stuff from the house. And so I think it allows people to, no matter what their occupation is, what their hobbies are, it can be something that they pour into on the side and do something fun and give people more content, which is always a good thing. Let people choose what they want to choose.
All right, so let's talk some ball here. A&M, give me your thoughts on what you thought of A&M the last few years, and maybe has it changed with the hiring of Coach Elko?
First of all, I'm fully on the wagon. Yes, it's changed. It's changed dramatically. You look at Jimbo Fisher. Obviously, he had a great run at Florida State. Recruiting was not a problem, and talent wasn't a problem. You went to practice, you're like, ooh, who's that guy? Who's that guy? You saw dudes everywhere and you saw talent, and that wasn't the problem. But being able to gel talent and really maximize and develop, that's a different game, and that's a different strategy. And Jimbo Fisher won 12 games the last 2 seasons. Mike Elko won 16 at Duke. And we're not talking about hoop season. We're talking about football season. So, you talk about a guy that's kind of the opposite, that knows how to mesh talent, that knows how to bring people together, knows how to develop, knows how to coach ball. And so I just think that I think it's a massive upgrade. I'm a big Mike Elko fan. I think A&M is a place that just like you visit all around the country and you go, man, that place could be really good. That place could be good. A&M doesn't take a back seat to many people, man. I mean, they've got the resources, they've got the facilities, they've got money. We all know Texas has got money. So I think A&M is a place that this year is going to start something special for them. I think they can win 10 games. I think they can win 9 games. I think that's possible. And I think they're going to have a lot to say about people in the playoffs too, and who makes the playoff and who doesn't. Like you start the season with Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't have a lot of schedule. A lot of tough games on the schedule. They got to come to you, just like Missouri has to come to you. LSU has to come to you. Texas at the end of the season. You might have a chance to ruin their playoff hopes at the end of the year. So I think Texas A&M is a stock. If I was buying, I'm buying as much as I can of it because I think it's on the ascend.
David, because of the, we talked about the changing landscape in media, but in college sports in general, right? Like I think in today's world, people are still trying to figure it out. There's the Lane Kiffin approach. Obviously, Nick Saban was more than very successful, the best coach we've ever seen. Kirby's doing his thing. But, it takes a special kind of coach who has the discipline, right? Because you have to have discipline in this world, but also can kind of relate to these players. And that's a much harder task than I think we've ever seen.
It's very difficult. It's a harder task now than ever because back in my day, and that's what you do when you're older, you say back in the day, you literally, your parents would say, hey, go dig a hole. And you'd be like, all right, sweet. Like how big? Now it's go dig a hole. It's why? Why would I do that? So I think more than ever, these kids have to understand the why behind what they're doing. And they got to know you care about them. You got to love on them. You got to get into their world. Listen, it's not easy to be an athlete nowadays. There's very few places they can go to get away from the game of football. Every time they go somewhere, there's a camera in their face and there's people wanting autographs. And now you add NIL and money. Bro, I had enough problems at Georgia, okay? I had enough things to get into and areas to find places to get away. You give me a bunch of money, I'd have amped it up times 10. So I think that it's tough to be a college kid. It's tough to relate to these kids, but it definitely takes – you got to know ball. They got to know you care about them, and you got to be ever evolving. Like Nick Saban, you talked about, a couple of years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that dude had to make a switch, had to hire Lane Kiffin and say, I got to go all in on offense. And I think you see as a coach now to relate to these kids, it's a year in and year out, different proposition. They change, and bringing them together is a skill. It isn't 100% a skill. It doesn't matter if you can get them there. To get them to trust you and to fight and to work hard for you is a totally different animal.
David, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I think about the staff because I don't know how much you study it, but just for us, we are very excited about this season beyond the Elko approach. It's who Elko brought in. Tommy Moffitt, strength and conditioning coach. Colin Klein, offensive coordinator. Jay Bateman. You go through, we feel really good about the staff around Elko. Can you speak a little bit about that? You could have a great head coach, but if you don't have the pieces around him to help get that system and culture in place, it won't happen.
Well, and you got to have coaches that you can trust. And here's the thing. I really don't care who you bring on defense because Elko is going to be that guy. But I'm very interested to find the Colin Klein aspect of it. Is that somebody that comes in, his background, obviously he was a running quarterback. You look at Kansas State every year, physical, tough, ground game, play action off of it, but they knew who they were and what they were. So interested to see how it all meshes together, but your assistant coaches, they've got to bring, okay. So a player takes on the identity of their coach. And a lot of times it's who coaching them every single day. So what kind of energy do you bring? What kind of answers are you giving to the questions that are presented? Because every game you're getting presented questions, and how do you teach your kids to answer those questions as quickly as possible? And so, yeah, listen, there's a lot to prove on the staff, and there's a lot to prove in A&M and in College Station. And can they win? Can they take this to the next level? And but I do know this. I think Mike Elko's a guy that has done it at a lower level with less talent and outperform. So that's why I look at him and I say, listen, I know it's a new deal and you're bringing new people with you, but I think he can create a culture, and I know he's going to create defense, because here's another thing that's cool. You're not guessing about him coming into this league. He had a 4-year stint with the Aggies already. Already knows the culture, right? Like, already knows how to coach great defense. They were elite when he was there on defense. So I think that familiarity helps as well.
Let's talk a little bit about Connor Wigman and Riley Leonard, two quarterbacks that are very good at their craft. We want to see more from Connor, obviously, but he has been, in our opinion, so solid when he's had those starts. And Riley Leonard, I mean, the guy became a star at Duke and unfortunately got injured. And now he's at Notre Dame taking on his former coach. So many subplots in this one. Just kind of break down the quarterbacks for us.
Well, first of all, here's what's interesting about Connor Wigman. It's not being talked about now, but it will be. I think Connor Wigman has a chance to do this. And not just in college football. I think he has a chance to do that up draft boards. Connor Wigman has a chance, I think, at the end of the season to be a guy that you point to and you go, he could be the number one quarterback. Like I think he's that kind of good. Like we know he's got the talent. We know he's highly recruited. But to me, when I watch Connor Wigman, the most impressive thing is his ability to negotiate a pocket and his ability to feel the rush and stay poised. It's elite. It's really, really good. I can't go teach people that. Okay. Like I can have the strongest arm in the world. I can have the most athletic ability in the world. I can't teach you how to feel a pocket and have that savvy and that presence. That's presence. That's something that you're born with. That's something that you innately have. And Connor Wigman has that. So that's why I think A&M's offense can be special. They can protect him. The offensive line, obviously, building skill. I don't think the weapons outside are going to be a problem. Can they have balance and create that on offense? Because I just think, I just gave you a lot of praise for that young man. Like a chance to do this and rise up the draft boards. Riley Leonard is a big, strong sucker. Listen, he struggled staying healthy. He runs it hard. Mike Denbrock comes over from LSU, who just won a Heisman Trophy with Jaden Daniels as your offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. So I think the system is going to be extraordinary, really, really good. The weapons at Notre Dame aren't the greatest out wide, and they're kind of unproven. So I think they're going to have to prove who they are. Listen, A&M secondary isn't proven by any stretch either. I can name like 7 transfers that are going to be an impact player in the back end. But, this is a great matchup. 2 really good quarterbacks with 2 big names, and I think they have a chance to show off and show out week 1. I think we're in week 1, right? That's week 0, week 0.5, whatever we're in. I think it's going to be a great showdown. I
want to talk about finding your voice on a team. So Torian York, the linebacker, he was freshman, all freshman last year. He was fantastic. This year, he's a captain as a sophomore, and I just think like finding your voice as a young player and becoming a starter, by the way, as a freshman in today's world, sometimes you're given, he earned that spot. So can you kind of talk about finding your place on a team when you're one of the young ones, yet your voice matters?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, when you come in, your voice doesn't matter, right? Like you need to shut up when you come in as a freshman and you need to show people what you're about. And when you can do that and you can show people how hard you work, how much you care, and then when you start to ball out, like your voice becomes big. I didn't have a leadership voice until my sophomore year when I started to make plays. You start making plays and you're like, wait a minute, the work ethic meets that. Now you have a voice. And then learning how to control that voice, like learning that when can I push people? How can I push people? Learning that you lead people in different ways. Not everybody you lead the same way. And that's a lesson you learn as a leader. Like, I got to understand where they come from. I got to understand who they are. I got to understand if I can yell at them. I got to understand if I need to be a little bit calmer, if I need to encourage them. And leadership takes on many facets. But what you got to have first and foremost is you got to have a work ethic. You got to be competitive. You got to be tough. You got to do those things. You got to be one of the hardest workers if you want to have a voice in a locker room, because otherwise that goes in one ear, out the other ear.
David, this game in particular, and then I'm going to ask you some other football questions. Notre Dame, A&M, what do you think it comes down to? Because there's been so much talk about the offensive lines. A&M's had struggles there. They bring in some new people. Notre Dame's always recruited well at that position, but they've got 6 starts. So to you, is that the point of the game that you're interested in, or what do you think the game comes down to?
Well, not only does Notre Dame have 6 starts, they lost both their tackles to the NFL, and then their left tackle that was the next guy that was going to be really good, tore his pec in camp. So I think they're banged up already up front and inexperienced. So I do think, who can protect their quarterback, who can run the football, get them settled in and established. I think when I look at Riley Leonard, he can do a lot of the running game himself. So that makes it easier. Like, defense is hard to play when a quarterback can run the football. Like, he is again, he can break tackles. He can go 60, 70 yards. You saw it against Clemson a year ago and make those big plays. But which team can settle their quarterback in? You know, listen, when you look at Notre Dame and you look at their weapons on the outside, is Mitchell enough at tight end to make plays, to create explosive plays off of it? But I think you nailed it. Both offensive lines, a lot to prove. They need to be physical. They need to assert themselves so then you can play action. Because I think if A&M can run the football this year, I think Connor Wigman can, like I just told you about, he can do some damage in the passing game. He can have poise. He can handle the blitz. He can handle all those different circumstances. So the big boys up front.
All right, so super intrigued by this Miami and Florida game. And one of the reasons is, you know, Miami keeps adding talent. They're kind of like A&M in the fact that we're waiting for them to kind of finally realize their potential. All the storylines with Florida. But you mentioned Cam Ward as one of your dudes of the 2024 season. Talk a little bit about Cam and what he can maybe do in the ACC.
I mean, Cam Ward is really, really good. He might be the top portal guy. Dylan Gabriel obviously is going to be up there. But in the end, you might be like, where did Cam Ward come from? And he came from Washington State and then Incarnate Word. I'm sure everybody knew that. That was his first school, but super athletic. You know, he's not big, but he is a playmaker. He can get the ball out of his hands quick. He'll have plenty of weapons at Miami. He is a really good athlete that can buy time as well. So, listen, it's now or never for Miami. I mean, Cristobal's in year 3. Their talent, position by position, if you want to go with any team in the ACC, it stacks up with it completely. Like, I could argue there's no one that is any better. And the line of scrimmages are both really, really solid. So I think Miami's got to get this thing rolling. Every year we've talked about it and we've been excited. Not only that, they got, you know, running back. They got people from the portal all over the place, and Cristobal's recruited at a high level. It's time for them to step up and show it.
Another dude that you mentioned is Trey Harris, and unfortunately A&M saw him dominate that secondary last year. He had 11 catches.
He put up like 220 bills on y'all.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about him.
Trey Harris, you know, number 9 for Ole Miss. He could have gone to the NFL, but last year you saw Jackson Dart as he continued to get more and more comfortable. He kept throwing it to number 9 and made sensational plays. And Lane Kiffin obviously can coach offense. And Trey Harris is just, he's big, he's tall, he's athletic. I think another year in this system, adding players around him, the line of scrimmage getting better, Dart being more comfortable. Like, Ole Miss's offense, I think, is going to be really, really good, and I think Trey Harris is going to be unstoppable.
David, last thing for you, Clemson, Georgia. Like, look, I'm not saying this because you're on the air. I've said it many times. I think Georgia was robbed last year. Now, I understand why they didn't make the playoffs. I understand, like, there wasn't a perfect scenario, but I still think they would have won it all last year. And knowing what I know about Kirby Smart, he's got them, like, so laser-focused, even with that hard schedule, that Clemson better watch out. Are you seeing it the same way I am?
Yeah, listen, Georgia's got to deal. They've got some injuries. They've got some suspensions, game 1. Travis Etienne's not going to play. Ra Thomas got kicked off the team. So there are some question marks when it comes to Georgia. But, nah, dude, they've got as many losses as national championships in the last 3 seasons. I mean, think about that. Like, they're 42-2. And so, yeah, I think they firmly know who they are. They've gone in the portal selectively to get people to add to their and you go look at practice, add to the mix, and then you go look at practice and you look at young guys like Nick Frazier. Frazier is going to be an animal at the running back. He's the next running back, by the way, at the University of Georgia. Number 3, he is a true freshman. He's unbelievable. You look at the back end, KJ Bolden, another freshman that's going to come in, probably plug and play like Malachi Starks type of deal. So the talent's there. The best coach in college football is there. A lot to prove, obviously, coming into this season. It's a tough matchup for Clemson coming out the gate. Listen, Matt Luke needs some time, and if Matt Luke can get some guys up front and they can get a little bit more physical, but, Clemson's kind of – they've been struggling to find the weapons. They've been struggling to find the explosive plays in this offense. And going against Georgia, week 1, that's not a great proposition to start your season.
Well, and it's a big year for Dabo. I mean, obviously he's got the national championships, but he hasn't evolved the way other coaches have. And I kind of like that about him, but I don't know if that's a winning formula for the future.
Well, it makes it harder. Listen, you have the right to do what you want to do. And if I'm Dabo Swinney, I'm like, listen, guys, like, I've got 2 national championships. I don't need to change who I am. This is the way we're going to do it at Clemson. And also, I think you use that as Dabo is one of the best I've seen as putting chips on his shoulder and like getting people to believe and fight and for everything that they get. And if I'm Dabo, man, I'm continuing to preach the same message. Listen, they're telling me to go in the transfer portal because you're not good enough. Think about that. Like, they want me to replace you. All you guys that aren't performing at a high level and aren't doing good enough, like, they're talking about you. So you need to step up. You need to make me look good. But he recruits high school football at a great level. Now, they do it different. They don't offer 350 guys every year. You know, they go after Clemson-type guys. But the problem is everybody they're competing against does the same thing, is recruiting at a good level. But now they're also saying, okay, I'm deficient here. You know, I need to plug somebody in here. I go to the transfer portal. Now this makes my team. Okay, now that young guy can come along a little bit better. So Dabo's way is harder. It's different. The only people that are supporting him is the service academies, you know, Army, Navy, and Air Force. Like, those are the only 4 schools in college football that haven't taken a transfer. And so it's different. It's his way. But if I'm him, I'm continuing to bang that drum home to the players. Like, they're telling me to replace you. So y'all need to step up. Y'all need to make sure that we prove them wrong.
David, just so you know, a bunch of the people listening are chiming in. They love the interview. They're subscribing to your YouTube channel. For those listening that haven't heard it, where can they find it?
It's David Pollack on YouTube.
That's it?
Just talking college football. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We don't have like a fancy name or anything like that. But here's the thing. I know we'll be talking about the Aggies. Obviously, we'll be talking about the SEC. But college football as a whole, man, this is exciting. Like, A&M fans should be jacked up, not only for Elko coming in and what that could mean, but college football. Now you start a season, man. You start with, like, I could give you 30 teams in college football that have a chance to make the playoffs. And usually our list is at what, like 8?
Right.
You know, like 10. So I think more programs involved, more chances at the Apple, home playoff games coming. I think college football is in an exciting time. And if I'm an Aggie fan, I would be jacked up about my new coach and I think an upward trajectory that's coming.
David, man, a big fan of your work. Thanks so much for making some time. I hope we can do it again.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Good one. All right. You have a good one as well. That was an awkward. The Boss Firearms Hotline. Appreciate his time. Bob Loop, my good friend listening. This is a great interview. He was great. Great insight to A&M and the other programs as well. Bob, you can catch him at BVMMA, by the way. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, we'll have Liucci in studio, I believe. So looking forward to chatting with Liucci. By the way, that interview was on the Boss Firearms Hotline. They provide high-quality firearms components to their civilian and law enforcement customer base. See what they've got for yourself at bossfirearms.com. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Billy Liucci. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. So they have a great selection of vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, and several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. We used their customer service this week, right? At the beginning of this week and the end of last week. We had some service needs that we needed. They picked up our vehicle. And by the way, complimentary delivery. They also have this complimentary. If you buy your vehicle there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they're going to give you free oil changes for life of the vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Proud supporter of Aggie athletics and a big weekend, obviously. So if you're coming in from the Austin area or wherever you are, you may stop by, leave a little bit early, stop by Caldwell Country Chevrolet and see their huge inventory selection that fits most needs. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Yeah, Riley Leonard's going to feel that pressure. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the brand new Rollo Insurance Studio. Connor Wigman right behind me. I love the pictures that we're picking in the background. Billy should be with us momentarily. But before that, if you have any questions for Billy, you can do it a couple different ways. You can call us or you can text us. If you call us, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, 979-693-1150. That's our phone number. And I do want to remind everybody, in about, 30 minutes or so, we're going to have the National Championship Trophy here in the studio. So looking forward to having that. And that is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. So in the new era of college football, celebrating new conferences and new playoff formats, the all-new season of Fansville as well, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper. You can do that today. Have your picture taken with that National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. The trophy will be at the College Station Walmart from 12 to 2, the Bryan Walmart on Briarcrest from 3 to 5. College football, it's a Pepper thing. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know that McKinley Polanski's got some nice text messages to get into. McKinley?
Yes. Clint Manley said on Elko's radio show.
Clint was here yesterday helping us with our audio, so props to Clint for helping us out. Thank you, Clint. It was great to finally meet you. Continue on. Cool. You looked at me like you were in trouble. Like, whoa, what?
I didn't know if I said something wrong.
We're just having a conversation here.
On Elko's radio show, he alluded to one player on offense that is going to break out that isn't getting talked about. I think it's Trey Watson.
I think that's a great answer. Great. I sound like Jim Rome. I think there's a great answer. I've heard nothing but great reports. Great again. Use a different word. Incredible, fantastic, awesome reports about Trey Watson. Yeah, I could absolutely see that being the case. I think Terry Bussey's had some buzz already, right? So he's a name that I think has been out there. I don't know if people are talking about Ja'Day Walker enough. Ja'Day Walker had the best season of the receivers that are coming back from this group, right? So he could be a name. I said yesterday that I could see a situation where Amari Daniels has a great start to his 24 season. I could see that, especially with his speed around the edge. So that's another one that I'm considering. I'm trying to think of another offensive player that we're not talking about. Look, Noah Thomas has gotten a lot of praise. I do worry about the matchup if he is matched up against Benjamin Morrison, right? I do worry about that. And he's not the only one. There's some other players on their defense that are like, obviously Xavier Watts was the best defensive player in college football last year at the safety spot. So there are others, but I think Noah's going to have an excellent season. And hopefully tomorrow we see a debut where he gets a couple touchdowns and has these amazing plays. But I do think it's going to be like, as Coach Elko alluded to on his show, that maybe a name we haven't been talking about enough, and that name could be Trey Watson, as Clint said there. Is there any other text messages you want to get into?
A lot of people are talking about Max Johnson getting
Oh,
hurt.
yeah, that was unfortunate. It was unfortunate. I hate to see that for Max getting hurt yesterday. North Carolina, I mean, they were struggling. Like, I looked at his stat line before he got hurt, and I'm like, we saw this. And, you know, it's interesting. Like, Max had some really nice games for A&M. And as OB said in the first hour of the show, the best game that Max Johnson had was probably against A&M when he was the LSU quarterback. So I hate to see that for Max just getting injured. And, I know they had high hopes for him. So, but it was a quarterback battle. And, he wasn't guaranteed that spot. All right, I think we'll have Luch on the other side. I think. Not 100% sure. But if not, you can call us up. I see Nick's face at 979-693-1150. Game week, if you're headed to the game this Saturday, hopefully you stop by TexAgs' tailgate, by the way, and I'll have some more information on that tailgate in a little bit. But the Association of Former Students wants to invite you to join them at the All Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters this weekend for free drinks, courtesy of Yingling, the City Orchard Cider. There's a smile for you. And Slovakic Sausage. There's also a fun zone with games and prizes for kids. Plus, if you have questions about your Aggie ring or need to have it resized, the Aggie ring office will be open throughout the event. The All Aggie Hullabaloo begins at 3:30 p.m. this week. The admission is totally free, but you do have to register. And that registration is at the website tx.ag/AAH1. So if you're driving or you don't have a pin on you, you can go to the boards on TexAgs. You'll find the information there. But don't miss out on a great event. Register tx.ag/AAH1. And it is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I want to read this real quick. Our tailgate tomorrow, 3:30 to 6 o'clock. Free adult beverages provided by Rebecca Creek Shiner, the Standard Ranch Water. Texas Aggies United will be there selling exclusive Howdy Water, with proceeds, going to the NIL fund. Food for purchase from our good friends at 1775 and Brick and Ember Pizza will be available there as well. Music, you name it. By the way, Brick and Ember will be in studio in a little bit, so we'll be able to try some of that. With that, Billy Liucci is in studio. Mr. Liucci, good morning, sir.
Hello, David.
How are you?
We did a surprise. I wanted to get on. How was Pollack? I wanted to get on with Pollack.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I've
and
always,
really knew his A&M stuff.
Yeah, I've always thought he's done an incredible job. Thought he was great on game day. I'm glad. Who was it? Your idea?
It was Nick Savage.
Nick had a great idea to get him on because I think he's always been really knowledgeable and like his opinions. You know, I think he's. I'm glad you guys had him on. I can't wait to listen. Unfortunately, I couldn't sit here because we may or may not.
You're working on some content.
Have done a little one-on-one with the Big Truth. And so we might have a little Big Truth season preview coming out for you guys a little later today. So
the Big Truth,
I know
who
I
that
just
is.
Gave that away. Everybody knows the Big Truth.
Okay, cool.
Big Truth's calm. He's in a good mood. He's, season's 0-0. So he's ready for it.
I know you're like me when you are prepping for a game. There's the Monday thoughts, especially if you've just played a game. And then as the week builds up, you start really zeroing in on these matchups and certain points of the game that you're interested. Have you at all evolved in what is going to take for A&M to win? Like, now that you know that Notre Dame roster and you've seen what they do well, is there a point of the game that maybe we're not talking about that you've noticed, like, this is where they can win the game?
Where are our notes, by the way?
There should be some there.
They don't seem to have anything on the game, really.
You want this one?
Just
you can have this one too.
Paraphernalia. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So, first of all, I think when I'm looking at matchups, I've talked this into the earth, I believe. I want to see the A&M receivers make plays against an elite secondary. Do I think this Notre Dame defense is like some of the Bama defenses A&M's face, like recent Georgia defenses, or like some of the LSU defenses the Aggies have faced? No, not at all. Like the Clemson defenses back a few years ago, Jimbo's first 2 years, not at all. Remember those defenses had, over the course of multiple classes, 5, 6, 7 first-round draft picks on them. This is not that. But this is, for this year, and for last year, an outstanding college football defense, playing for a defensive-minded head coach that I think's pretty damn brilliant on that side of the ball. And what you have are guys that came back, David, that should be playing NFL football right now, that should be competing for starting jobs in the NFL, particularly guys like Morrison. To me, Morrison and Watts in particular. And I know Howard Cross gets a ton of run too. I think he's really good. But I think Morrison and Watts would be like starting NFL guys today.
Yeah.
And they're starting in that secondary. And they return so much on that defensive side of the ball. And I think that matchup, A&M doesn't win this game unless the receivers in Maroon and White make some plays. And they don't have to dominate, and there doesn't have to be a 100-yard receiver. But you've got to have guys that when we look up at the end of the game, we could sit here and go, man, those 4 or 5 grabs were really big. Mm-hmm. And there was a big play in there over the top, and then there was a really tough snag across the middle to keep that touchdown drive alive, and then so-and-so had a really strong game. 6 catches for 80 yards for Noah Thomas. Something like that. If that's what we're talking about, that to me will be enough. And I'd say the same thing for Notre Dame against the A&M secondary. I think which team's receivers can walk off the field and go, we had the biggest impact, that's likely going to be the team that wins this football game. I think you have 2 really good quarterbacks, either one of whom could be great. I like Connor Wigman's chances to be great. I think the D-line is what it does. It's too obvious. It almost feels like I want to not say it.
Right.
But I feel like that's the difference in the football game. The most intriguing thing about this game to me is the Aggie offensive line versus that Notre Dame defensive front. And they're so strong up the middle, the Irish. But the Aggie O-line, Notre Dame's got 6 career starts up front. Texas A&M has, you know how many starts the Aggies have up front?
101, something like that?
You saw my right now. They got 101.
I read your stuff. You're good. Premium subscriber, by the way.
But it's not the starting 5. That's like your top 9. And that, if you want to say their top 10, if you include Shanahan, because he doesn't have a start yet, but he's coming on strong too. That's a lot of experience, and not all of it's been great experience. They've struggled the last couple of years. For a couple of guys, it has been. A couple of these guys started, Father, he's starting when they beat Alabama. Trey Zoon started in some really good games. A couple guys have started at other schools, Coley and Reed Adams. But I think this offensive line has a chance this year to be pretty good. Now, I'm not saying they're a Joe Moore finalist in year 1 under Adam Cushing and everything, but I think they have a chance to be pretty good based on who they go against every day. That doesn't mean as much to me. I know I'd rather them go against a great D-line every day than a bad one, but just the way the pieces seem to fit and what Mike Elko and Klein and Cushing can do with them. Hey, if they're struggling at tackle, they could move Reed Adams out there. They could try, if it's Crownover, they could try Fothery, or they could move Reed Adams, and then you got, if Coley's at center, you can go Naboo or Dewberry at guard, or Shanahan, or if you don't like what you see at center, you could put Naboo or Coley, whoever's not starting, in there, or you could put Shanahan. Mm-hmm. You've got all kinds of flexibility up front now, particularly on that right side if in game you need to fix something. So you've got depth, you've got experience, you've got flexibility, you've got a new coach, you've got an offensive coordinator that I believe does some terrific things in terms of the X's and O's in the ground game. You can go watch all these videos are out there from his days at Kansas State where people are just, and like I've said, scouts I've talked to, football people I talked to, they go, Colin Klein in the run game is really innovative, really creative. If that can get some momentum going with this offensive front, I think that unit could be a surprise.
Billy, we've got to hit a break here, but is this, as of today, the best defense A&M will face this year?
Possibly. I don't – look, I do still think there's a different level to what's recruited throughout the SEC. But when you got a guy like Morrison at corner and Watts at safety and like that, I don't think you'll have a better 1-2 punch in the defensive backfield. But when you look at teams like even LSU, who struggled on defense, even Florida, who struggled on defense last year, the level they recruit at year in and year out, if you just look at the rankings, they're kind of right there in the neighborhood of Notre Dame every year. And usually a little bit higher if I would have to guess.
At least on the line.
A little bit higher. I'm just saying across the board, like defensive talent, like in terms of athleticism, what the NFL sees, and then you throw in, Texas, trying to think of who else. But even some of these other teams, I would say my quick answer would be it's entirely possible. And if they're not, they're probably second. And I don't know who will be best. My guess out of that schedule the Aggies play.
Florida?
Probably Texas.
Texas.
I don't think the Aggies play a really tough defensive schedule this year. I think it's the offenses that the Aggies play that will scare you more than the defenses. You look at LSU, you look at Missouri, even Florida with Mertz at quarterback, even Arkansas with Petrino as their OC. Like, I think the offenses scare you more than the defenses this year. So, yeah, it might be your best.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, I think we're trying some pizza and we're talking football. Pizza and football here on TexAgs Live. Right now we're talking Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. In fact, Jackson and Keith are going to be here in studio on Monday to record some new spots because they've got a lot of crazy, great things going on there at Rollo Insurance because they want to be the best. They are the best at finding you the right insurance for your family needs. And that could be car insurance, homeowners insurance, farmer, rancher, hobby farmers, business owner insurance, you name it. They are the absolute best at doing it for you. They've got 53 offices in the great state of Texas. And they've got their headquarters right here in College Station, but you can find them in Houston, in Dallas, in Tyler, in Austin, in San Antonio, West Texas, and everything outside of Texas. So go check them out at rolloinsurance.com. The phone number is 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. Or go to rolloinsurance.com. TexAgs Live, awkward, yo.
I was just feeling
There's a red light that tells me we're about to go live, okay? And then I look at the monitor, and now I know. And we're about to try some Brick and Ember pizzas. OB, who knows more about food than I do, Billy. Let's talk a little bit about this, because they're going to be at our tailgates tomorrow, by the way, so come check it out. Brick and Ember offers unforgettable wood-fired pizza like brisket, mac and cheese. OB, what do I love?
You love the mac and cheese.
I'm a mac and cheese guy.
Yeah, I think you like brisket, too.
I love brisket.
You like
I love mac and
jalapenos
cheese.
or something
I
on
do.
there?
I do.
scared of jalapenos.
Where does that come from? When have you seen me scared of anything? Can Can you name one thing?
You're
Snakes.
scared of the open segment.
Yeah, well, this is true. Well, no, I'm scared of the open segment when you're around because I never know when you're coming. I'm going to have a bite. Can we talk some football and eat some brick and ember pizza, please?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm gonna try this meat lovers pizza here.
All right. I don't like. Okay.
I'm going a little brisket.
Let's see what an Italian actually thinks about this pizza.
So, I don't like the idea of people hearing me chew, and the mic is right by my mouth, so that's
Doesn't bother
unfortunate
me.
for those. I apologize, though. But you can call or text them to get your tailgate ordered by 5 p.m., 979-933-9000. They'll deliver to your tailgate area. Wow, that's nice of you. You can pick it up here at TexAgs building on your way to the campus for the game. They're mobile. They can go to any event. Pizza buffet, including desserts and pizza to your next event. This is delicious.
Deserts.
Did I say deserts?
Dallas. We got Dallas Ship sitting here, who I've known for, 20 plus years. I had no idea. Two things I didn't know he could do. Sing. And I show up at like somewhere in College Station one night. He's sitting there singing country music and killing it. Yep. And then I didn't know he could cook. I mean, I didn't know he could sling pizzas.
Yeah, I didn't know he was Italian. It's
Yeah.
Dallas Chapelli.
Chapalier.
Chapalier.
Chapino.
Don Chapini.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay, yeah. This is a football segment, guys. Yeah. So while you're enjoying the awesome pizza from Brook and Ember, you wrote about one part that I'd like to get OB and you to talk about, Jeremiah Love, Le'Veon Moss. That is they're not going against each other, obviously, but whichever running back establishes the run game is obviously going to help their quarterback so much. Talk about that matchup. Jeremiah Love, a guy that A&M was interested in some years back.
A couple years ago. He was just a freshman last year, and they wanted him bad out of high school, out of the St. Louis area. I know this guy Jimbo really wanted in his backfield. Ideally, he would have been like complimenting Le'Veon. He was up there with Reuben Owens, I believe. That was kind of the, they didn't get Reuben till late. So it was like, you really wanted a Jeremiah Love. Reuben Owens, you were still recruiting. He's committed to Louisville. So he was one of the top backs in that cycle in A&M's mind, and obviously Notre Dame's as well. They've got another Texas back on the roster from Denison, who's a guy that can play also. Shout out Gabe Bach. Greatest prospect come out of Denison since Bach. But they, either of those backs, they're both going to have, I think, tough sledding against the opposing defenses, against O-lines that both have something to prove Saturday. But, man, Le'Veon Moss had a solid year last year. There's some games and some runs where you're like, man, this dude, I can remember him getting loose a couple times against Alabama. Was it that Ole Miss game where him and Amari Daniels were just getting downhill, where they started to bring the Aggies back? They were chewing up 6, 8, 9 yards a clip. He's an NFL running back if he stays healthy and continues on his current progression. But when you guys see him, we've seen him at camp, he has filled out so much in terms of, like, I don't know how many guys have benefited from Tommy Moffitt more than him. He looks great. He's run great throughout fall camp, and I think he's poised. Now, like I said, the yards will be tougher to come by this week, right on? But this is one of those games that if you can get up to like 80, you could be a huge factor in the football game.
I think if you take 80 from Le'Veon Moss right now, if you could get it, because not many teams had a lot of success running the football. Now, some did. Clemson did. Duke actually did.
How much did that Clemson back go for last year? 2 something?
I know as a team they ran for about 180, 176. And Louisville ran on them. And those are the games they lost, or almost lost to Duke. So if you can run on them, and Le'Veon Moss, we've seen him, he can run. And we've seen him run against good defense. The thing about Love I wonder about, now he doesn't have the power, I think, that the Estime had last year. Big, powerful backs now with the Broncos. But it's my understanding, a lot of speed. Got to get him at the line before he gets something.
See that?
Able to use all that speed.
Spots. All right, a couple things. Call them up, 979-933-9000 for Brook and Ember Pizza. You can try it at the tailgate. By the way, I saw your eyes go right to that. I saw your eyes say, it's too close to the pizza.
It's not touching the pizza.
What's too close to the pizza?
Oh, you didn't see it? I saw your eyes look right at it. He had his little crust right there.
Oh, wow.
Almost ruined the entire experience.
I don't, I haven't, Olin seems like a triple dipper.
We'll be back. Great.
Pretty consistent.
Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. As a reminder, the new era of college football has arrived, so if you're celebrating new conferences, new playoff formats, and the all-new season of Fansville, grab some ice-cold Dr. Pepper. You can do that this Friday and get your picture taken with the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. The trophy will be at the College Station Walmart, 12 to 2, Bryan Walmart on Briarcrest from 3 to 5. College football is the Pepper thing, and I believe at some point during this hour, we will have that trophy in studio. TexAgs Live, the final countdown. The McKinney brothers are here. Woo! Steve, hello.
We're back, baby.
Hello.
Back for another season. Gig 'em.
Gentlemen, so when's the last time? Well, I guess it was last season, all of us together on the studio. How are we feeling about the new year?
I feel great about it, man. There's been a lot of developments, obviously, but tremendously excited to get this kicked off, and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah.
What? What do you got? Here we go. I can't wait. Let's start it off right.
Bro, your elbow sticks out like 4 inches from this angle. What is going on?
You got a burst of sack.
We got to get adjusted to this new studio view
yeah,
here.
it is. We've never seen you at this angle.
It's pretty rough.
Well, first of all, Steve, I want to start. Welcome back. It is weird, a little weird, because when we're talking, but
a little far away.
I do have a Seth story for Steve. You could appreciate, but I think. So, to Seth's credit, he wanted to come out to practice.
Oh, wow.
And do some research, get some prep.
Very un-Seth-like.
So he comes to practice. He comes to practice with me. This is probably a 100+ degree day for sure.
Well, and
he's dressed
listen,
like
I'm going to
this.
give a little background.
I already know where that's going.
I'm prepped for like a 30-minute deal. Billy's like, look, it's the media access, be 30 minutes. So I come like fully pantsed and clothed and
ready to go to work.
Yeah, just like I'm going to go out there for a bit. I know it's going to be hot. I'm going to get misty. And then you can finish this story.
Well, ends up being a little longer, just talking to people, and I think they let everybody kind of stay around. And so Seth wants to leave, and you know how he's throwing a fit. Like, I'm about to, once I start sweating, it's over. Once I start sweating.
At that point, I'm like dripping with sweat.
Yes,
and I'm
you are.
Unprepared to drip with sweat.
So the football team now, for those of you that haven't seen practice, they have a giant
meat locker, dude.
Cooling tent. Yeah, it's like
it's not even fair.
It is
nice.
And by the way, they were the last team in the SEC, I believe, too.
Oh, really?
It's a giant tent that you walk in. It's probably like 55 degrees. The whole team goes in there at a certain point to cool off. The whole team fits. I can't find Seth.
He's in there.
He's in there by himself in the tent while the team's practicing. All of a sudden, I see him come walking out the door like you're walking out of a porta potty, and then I make him
still sweating.
And then I make him stay longer, and now he's sweating and hungry. And I'm like, hey, let's just watch this 2-minute drill. Seth finally loses it. I know what you're doing, you son of a, like, you're keeping me out here.
You're trying to make me sweat.
So he is no longer game ready.
I was off for the rest of the day, man. It was like, that was just too much for a non-football player.
But he did.
That's great.
He did study the O-line. I know that's a position you're more excited about than you were a couple years ago when you went and watched them.
No, it was honestly, it was like a night and day
year
transition.
Ago.
Between, and I know you can attest to it from being at the camps and listening to Cushing, but just going in, the different approach, not only the level of coaching that it looked like was going on, but the level of, calmness and peacefulness that it was, which is great. You can't coach, you're just constantly yelling and complaining and growling. I mean, like, I know that exists and there's a place for that, but not a constant level of that, no matter how nice you are off the field. Yeah. But to get true coaching in, you have to coach, and you have to be a normal guy, and that's the way that it seemed that Cushing was. And, it was good to see, and the players were reacting to it, and by the way, those guys are just giants, man. It's wild to see.
Some big dudes.
And it's exciting. I think there's a lot of potential in that group, and, I mean, that's what it is potential. They have to go out and prove themselves. Like, you've got guys like Basantis who are young, but he's got all the makings of being just a tremendous and great player, and you can't wait to see it. And this is what we're playing for right here, baby.
There it is, the national championship trophy right there. Look at that.
Look at that.
Hopefully our offensive line can lead us to getting one of these bad boys.
Hope that's not the last time we see this.
I know.
In College Station.
It's coming. This is freaking
what I'm
awesome.
Talking about, man.
Look at this.
That's
It's
beautiful.
staying.
Can you imagine
It's staying.
us doing this? He's doing it so delicately.
Thank you. Why do I feel like this picture is going to be some kind of
meme? It's going to, this
closest
is definitely.
you'll ever get to that thing. I mean, it is.
So they're already memeing it. It's already happened.
It's done.
It's done.
It's cool. It's badass. I want to see the front of it, but I don't want to touch it and move it and break the trophy.
Thank you to Dr. Pepper, by the way.
That'll be a better meme, even.
Dr. Pepper.
Thank you. They'll be at the College Station Walmart 12 to 2, Bryan Walmart 3 to 5.
Okay. Great commercials. Great. I love that whole Fansville thing they've been doing for
They
a couple
do.
years.
Those are some great commercials.
I'm a big fan of DDP, so I'm glad they're
even the series they had before that with the guy walking up and down the aisle selling cold Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, that guy
even
was
that
good,
guy
too.
was good. They've been strong in the college football
You're a
arena.
big fan of DDP.
Diet
Dallas
Dr. Pepper.
Page.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Hey, so can you guys speak, and I think from both sides, we talked about the A&M angle.
Wait, I want in this.
Here we go.
Wait, let me
This
get
is
behind
great
you.
radio, by the way.
Let's touch it.
Can
Let's
we-
touch
All
the
right,
trophy.
Seth.
It is great radio.
All right. So chemistry on the offensive line. So we're talking about the A&M side of things, but for Notre Dame, like this is a group that has 6 combined starts. These guys were not expected to play this
6?
year. Combined starts on that O-line against our defensive line.
This is probably not the place or time that I would want to come in to Kyle Field with 6 starts on my offensive line. Against that defensive line with the crowd they're going to have Saturday night, that's going to be a tough task for sure for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a position group where you just can't afford to have inexperience early against a great defensive line, and it's going to be a great situation for A&M to enter into, and we just have to make hay with it. You know what I mean? Because they're going to be youthful, and they're going to be nervous.
You got to get
There's
on
a lot of
early.
communication. And
They will settle down.
So what I want
eventually.
to ask you is to get on them early, and I'm sure that's the same for Notre Dame and that stout defensive front. They're going to be thinking the same thing. Because for all that experience, as a unit, these guys haven't been a part of a quality unit yet.
Yeah.
The 100 starts or whatever. If you're Notre Dame, how do you think Notre Dame's going to attack early to not kind of get behind the chains, get buried, kind of get demoralized up front? If you're a coach and you've got an O-line that inexperienced, do you put Riley Leonard in the shotgun and get it out of his hands super quick? And kind of, Seth, we talked to Dan before they played Tampa Bay and Vita Vea in the playoffs where you can't run on them. But right before that game, he said, well, we're not going to throw for a while. Then we're not going to run for a while, but then we're going to run.
Yeah.
Do you do it like that, or do you line up and say we're not going to take losses and we're going to try to test their wherewithal early, see how tough they are? What do you think they do?
Well, I think what's probably going to happen is they're going to first script the first 15 plays, and they're going to make them, just like you said, they're going to be quick passes. They're going to be power runs, common runs that they're comfortable doing, things that don't stress the offensive line too much in the beginning. Because you got to give them a chance to settle down. They have to feel confident going into the first couple of series, like they know what play is about to be called. They know what the guy across from them is kind of doing at that point. So if I was the offensive coordinator, that's how I would do it. I would not do any kind of drop back passes. Now, the way A&M stops that is you got to get them behind the chains early.
Yeah.
Because you throw them off of that script. You force them into a 3rd and long where they have to come off script, and that's when you can really get the crowd into it.
I'm going to read this. Officer Brimley on the YouTube page thinks we're all delusional. He goes,
Wilford Brimley?
Wilford Brimley's son. Notre Dame could have way more starts, boys. Don't act like they had no choice. Those recruits are pretty freaking good on the line. That's not what we're talking about.
No, that's not talent. It's not talent.
We got to be boys.
That's what he wrote. I'm just reading what he wrote.
Brimley.
Well, that's like
Brimley.
Basantis last year.
No
Basantis came in with 0 starts last year. Tremendously talented kid, but he also played like a kid that had 0 starts.
That's a great example.
No, I mean,
other
I'm just
guys
making
could
the
have
point.
started over.
Like he's extremely talented. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like my first game was against Florida State. Was I prepared to go in against Corey Simon and all those guys? My first but I had to, and that's what I did. Like good players.
I don't know who your other center was in that game. Who was the backup center?
Toby McCarthy.
Okay. don't know how much more experience he had, but
Boy,
what this guy's talking about. Yeah, we're actually not stupid. We do know that some of these guys you could go with the starts. I get it. A&M's not putting an O-line out there going, he's got the most starts. We'll go with him. We'll go with him. You can look up and down it. There are guys that are going to be sitting on the bench with more starts than guys that are in there. Welcome to football at any level, much less college. But you have to discount experience at that position is actually insane. That doesn't mean Notre Dame can't put it together and have one good game. But if you think that lack of experience is going to kick in, I can remember watching Luke Jokel start as a true freshman who was here in the spring, who you and I sat there and heard Dan Campbell and Marco Rivera, who's an incredible college or NFL lineman, say, that's the best lineman I've ever seen at that age.
I was actually in the spring meeting rooms with them, and I can 100% agree with that. He had it made day one.
And he was the most mature mentally. He was a true freshman. He was here in the spring under Mike Sherman and Jim Turner. He started his first game in the Big 12. I remember Jokel with his head on a swivel against Florida International at Kyle Field. And then we watched A&M go up to Oklahoma State, and he got it handed to him by a defensive end from Oklahoma State that was a fringe NFL guy. A couple weeks later, Game 6, Game 7, he never looks back.
Yeah.
He's a number 2 pick in the draft, and quite possibly I think it's him, Jake Matthews, and Richmond Webb as the 3 best offensive linemen that ever played here. No offense to you guys. I don't think you'd argue.
I'm taking.
But his first couple games as what you would just call the 5-star of all 5 stars, he really struggled.
Yeah,
I will say,
Officer Brimley, it does matter. It does matter whether they do a good job tomorrow night or not. It absolutely matters.
So as a position, offensive line is probably the most talent unfriendly position there is. Like, talent matters, but when you're young, it doesn't matter on offense. Like, you can go to receiver and DB and be perfectly fine as a true freshman.
You can't win with just athleticism, skill, or talent alone. Like, there is a lot of skill involved, a lot of knowledge that's required to react quickly and anticipate what's happening and work with the guys next to you. And that just doesn't happen because you can squat 650 pounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, going in with 6 starts is going to be a problem. They are probably very talented guys, and maybe they're well coached, but despite that, they're going to struggle.
And they can overcome it in time, but I mean, it's not going to be perfect. And they'll probably be much better offensive linemen at the end of the year than they are this year. That's all I'm trying to say.
And Officer Brimley, on behalf of the whole set here, we really appreciate you listening to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
If you ever pull us over.
I hope he does.
I hope he does.
If he does, just give Billy a ticket. He was pretty hard.
What if we get pulled over? Yeah. He comes up and you look at his.
He's waiting for you outside here.
That's Brimley. You're like, oh, crap.
He wants us to check our diabetes, whatever that means. Anyway,
Brimley's a tough guy.
Yeah, he's tough.
Super tough guy. Probably super fit. Actually, Brimley, you suck. I don't like you, loser.
I wish you
would.
But
keep listening, Brimley.
Hey, but talent on the defensive line.
You're not a real officer anyway.
No, he's fake. He's fake at everything. Fake wife, too. All right, so talent alone and experience. So when you talk about the defensive line for A&M, regardless of how good an offensive line is, that D-line is going to do things to confuse an inexperienced line, I would assume, beyond just the talent alone.
Well, I think that if they wanted to do that, I mean, obviously we'll see what happens, but running a lot of games is how you can confuse a young offensive line for sure. Games are always hard to pick up with for young guys, but I think it's something that you can take advantage of early just to test them and make sure that they can do it. If they can do it, it's not the end of the world.
Why if you're Elko and A&M and you have all that talent and you think you can win the battles, just head up, what's that balancing act of games?
Yeah.
Because you
I wouldn't
guys
do it
also,
every play.
the lesser team, like what are you giving up, Steve, when you run games?
You're giving up your advantage of talent, experience versus young, inexperienced talent. That's the only thing you're really giving up. I mean, but from what I remember watching Elko's defense in the past, they're not a team that runs a lot of games up front. You know, their defensive linemen play a lot of just straight either 2-gap or I don't even remember them doing a lot of 1-gap with his defense. what they did was they would bring backers or disguised safeties come in and things like that to really confuse the quarterback and throw him off. It's not. I don't anticipate seeing a lot of twists, TEs, ETs there up front. That just doesn't seem like something they've done in the past. And I could be wrong, but just from my remembering his defenses.
I wouldn't say what he does.
I was actually curious. I wanted to know because we always talk about how.
I would agree with what Steve said though. Like if you don't want to just do games. That's what
weak defensive linemen do.
Yeah. But if you're good, like go at them, but also try to confuse them.
Throw some of that.
See what happens.
You beat offensive lines when you have really good talent up front that can turn an offensive line, get him turned,
get on an edge.
Then you're bringing a backer that he can't get off from because he's in a bad position. That's how you get pressure on quarterbacks.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's do this. We'll hit a break. We got a lot to get into here on the show. Costa Vida time. So Holly was hanging out with the students the other day on the 26th. She was passing out breakfast tacos with Trev Alberts, and I think we have some pictures. There we go at the student pool, and they just had a really good time being out there. They're going to be at the All-American Club, tailgating, catering, and of course the store. They sold their food trailer, so they're not going to be in the fan zone, so you've got to go to the All-American Club, or you can just go and hang out there at Costa Vida in South College Station. But at the All-American Club, chips and queso, chili lime chicken, and sweet pork nachos. Hopefully they can take care of you there, or maybe tailgating on your game day activities. They have breakfast tacos, they have coffee, they have lunch, they have dinner, everything made from scratch daily, delicious. And I always get the quesadillas. My boys always, hey, quesadillas. You got to say it with an accent. It is in South College Station. Go check out Holly. She's an Aggie. She's great. Aggie owner operated. 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. That's 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. It's Costa Vida. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The final countdown, the McKinney brothers, and Billy Liucci with us. Guys, let's talk about the national attention for the quarterback after this game. There's a lot of attention on the matchup itself. Connor has a great outing. Riley Leonard has a great outing. What that can do for just the hype around them the rest of the way. Seth, you want to start us off?
Sure. I mean, Connor's great. Like I loved him going into last year. I love the way that he started the season and played when he was healthy, and then unfortunately he was hurt. And I think he can pick up right where he left off and be even better with a better offensive system, a better offensive line, and I think that he's going to go out and have a great game. I mean, I see no reason why he shouldn't. He's got everything that a good quarterback needs. He's got a great arm, great mind. And he's got legs. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what he can do, and I feel very confident that he's going to do a good job.
And with all respect to the previous coaching staff, I mean, Connor was playing in a system that didn't really set the quarterback up for great success. Let's be honest. It was very predictable what the offense was going to do, at the same time not giving the quarterback a chance to really know what the defense was doing. And I think you'll see a lot better performance from him this year, just because of the amount that we'll use motion and different things to not only draw defenses' eyes, at the same time kind of making them expose what they're going to do in coverage. But when you talk about what this game can do, I mean, you're talking about a nationally televised game, prime time, against a top 10 opponent, game days here. Yes, whoever wins this game, the quarterback is going to be in a much more hyped, elevated position.
And on top of that, you have him going against a really good defense. And not that we're not a good defense. I'm just saying that their defensive backs are like the marquee position on their team. So
no doubt.
It could be a really great momentum builder for him.
I look at Nick Scorton in this game and just all the anticipation of seeing him in an A&M uniform, what he was able to do at Purdue, and what he can do with this line, with the protection around him. Speak a little bit about what you expect for him to do, Steve.
Well, I mean, I expect him to get a sack this game. I expect him to create a lot of pressure. I think that, he's coming out. I'm saying his last year in college, and I know he wants to really make a name for himself. He's probably played against Notre Dame, or at least been around him a lot.
I think he had 2 sacks against Notre Dame last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I mean, he's got experience against Notre Dame. He's not going to be intimidated by gold helmets, I can assure you that. So I expect him to have a big game and become a household name in Aggieland after Saturday night.
I love the addition of Nick Scorton. I think he's an absolute stud on his way to the NFL. I think he's added so much to this team, like just their day-to-day, the morale, the culture, the toughness. You watch him play, and this isn't going to be something you hear a lot. Thank you. This isn't.
I was wrong. He had 2 sacks against Michigan, but Michigan. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've got my Nantucket coffee cup, Steve. You didn't come to Nantucket with me. Seth backed out of a Jackson Hole trip.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
so
protector of the table.
So anyway, I would next time I'll bring you to Jackson.
All right.
You can take 3 days off. So I think the other thing about Nick Scorton, and it's rubbed off already onto these guys. You watch him play. You guys are linemen. Go look at his highlights. A lot of these sacks are like effort sacks. Mm-hmm. They're not just, wow, that was an amazing move, and he just out-athleted the offensive lineman. He can't, he doesn't have the longest arms. He's not the tallest DN. That was kind of what landed him at Purdue out of Brian High. He was a tweener. He has overcome that because he's grown out of tweener status. He's a beast out there, but he still has that mentality that he was an under-recruited guy. He was overlooked.
Yeah.
And he lines up, man, and you watch some of those sacks are just because he is relentless. He won't give up. He won't quit on a play. He can get beat at the start, and he'll still fight you. That's what I love, and I think that, guys, is what, you get a whole unit of 5-star talent playing like that, and that rubs off on Shamar Stewart and Shamar Turner and a young guy like a DJ Hicks, Albert Regis, all these guys. I think that's what I love most about what I've seen from Nick Scorton. And I'll tell you a funny story. So Lonnie, 2 things. I've got a friend who's coaching the Big Ten. and he's an assistant, long-time assistant. And he came up to me before last year in the offseason. He goes, hey, how did that kid from College Station end up at Purdue? I go, oh, you talking about, you know, I go, he's from Bryan High. He's like, how did A&M not recruit him, or Texas, or any of it? How do you? I was we're talking. He goes, he's the best pass rusher in our conference, and that was as a freshman. He goes, he's the best DN in the Big Ten.
Wow.
This was a rival coach of in the Big Ten. Later on, Lonnie Madison, who was at College Park at the time, they played Bryan High. He told, I think you were with me, Seth, he told us that when they were about to play Bryan, and you think they could win that game, they get here and they're playing here. He said he had to turn his players to where their backs, move them off of where they normally warm up, because he didn't want them to see, at the time, Nick Carraway, they didn't want to see Scorton warming up, and he was just looked like such a beast and so intimidating, just going through warm-ups. Lonnie was like, guys, turn around. He didn't want
Don't watch this.
He adds a lot of intangibles. Yeah. My guy, Nuño, that I want to see Saturday, that not enough people talk about, my opinion. There are two guys on this defense that
Did he just say not enough people talk about my opinion? Talk about your opinion?
In my opinion.
Oh, sorry.
A little sensitive early. On that defense, Dalton Brooks, dog.
Oh, here we go.
Cassius Howell, MAC sack leader. They added the Big Ten sack leader. We don't talk enough. They added the guy that led a whole conference in sacks. I know it's a G5. They play quality football over there. He was the best pass rusher in that conference as well. And he's giving A&M something I think the Aggies have lacked. And I think Elko didn't have it at his in his arsenal when he was here the first 4 years, is that long, really long-armed, kind of light, rangy
Speed.
edge guy.
He's fast, too.
And they've got packages with him in it.
I think I saw something on TexAgs even where they were showing the top speed, and he was up there with DBs.
DBs and quarterback.
So
yeah,
I'll talk about my sweat session practice visit. I'm looking at these guys, and just like the offensive line, you're just like, oh my goodness, man, we got some beasts, dude. And you'd see him go, and I made the comment to Billy that I was like, Shamar Turner, man. I was like, we need a hole plugger, like a big. I was like, I just don't know if we because at the time Regis wasn't in that rotation, and he's like, dude, Turner's 305. He's like a ripped 305. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he's of that mold where he's 305, but he doesn't have any look to it, and just he
doesn't look like what we think 305 should look like.
He wasn't like my 305.
No,
I was 305.
We can pull up pictures of that if y'all want to throw them on the back there. Seth at 305.
Not do that.
Guys, in your opinion, where's A&M vulnerable in this matchup?
I think we talked about one of them.
Yeah,
we talked about the O-line versus D-line and how
O-line is a spot. I mean, you can talk about where they were vulnerable last year, which is DB, but that is not. I don't think that's going to be vulnerable this year, personally. I think that we've had enough guys step up and the guys in the transfer portal. And I think that's going to be a position of strength for our team next year. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that we've done a good job of addressing negatives that were, weaknesses for us last year, and then making them something that might be a weakness, but it won't be a glaring weakness, Like the offensive line, I'm very confident that they're going to do a good job. Will they be great? Who knows? That'd be possible. I can say this, it's very possible with the talent over there. But I'm excited because they're at least not going to be weak like they were last year.
Well, I think where we're probably the most vulnerable. Defensively, I don't know how vulnerable we really are at any position. I think we're pretty good at every level. And I guess we'll see Saturday night. But offensively, I have some concerns. I mean, last year, if you look at how we've been able to run the football, our ability to control the clock and run the ball effectively, and even get chunk yards in a running game, we got to have it if we're going to win. Mm-hmm. We can't put the entire season and offense on Connor Weigman to throw the ball down the field to get points every time. But we have to be able to run the football. Losing Reuben Owens is going to hurt. So the other guys got to step up. Moss and Daniels and whoever our third guy is. I mean,
E.J. Smith.
Yeah, E.J. Smith. Yeah, we don't even know what he can do yet. So those three guys are going to have to really step up. But the offensive line in general, I mean, we got to get on guys. We got to stay covered up. We got to get to the second level. We got to finish blocks, work better, much better double teams than we had last year, and just be more physical in general. And so hopefully we'll see that this year.
I definitely noticed that getting to the second level this spring and in camp. That's something that even for an untrained O-line eye has stood out. I'm wide receivers versus that secondary. Elite secondary. I want to see the A&M receivers show me they can get open. I know that Noah and Moose and even Jade can go up and make contested grabs. I've seen enough to know, like, if you're covering me and we throw it up, you got a pretty decent chance of the guy in Maroon White catching it. But I want to see them get open and beat guys in routes and do what Colin Klein and Holman Wiggins in that passing game designed them to do and not make a mistake and run the route exactly how it needs to be to get that little separation, because that's all Connor needs. But I want to see, can the Aggie receivers get open? And then the second part, Notre Dame is going to try to run. They're not winning this football game if they don't physically line up and run the football with some success against A&M. That goes both ways in this game. I want to see the Aggie linebackers stand in there against a power running game and get physical and not miss tackles. And they'll get a great assist with this D-line. So hopefully that pushes them over the top. But you got new starters opposite Torrey and York. There's no Edger and Cooper, so that to me is something else we'll find out.
Yeah, just from remembering Elko's defenses in the past, man, their ability to stop the run is not something that I go in overly concerned about.
You're right.
I mean,
that led the country.
If we were short on talent, yeah, maybe. But with the talent we got and his scheme and the way they've stopped the run in his previous stop, man, I feel pretty confident with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, Freak of the Week and the Sleeper of the Week. Right now, Milliken Reserve time. They've got Gardening 101, Fall and Winter Planting. Seth, I think we should go to that, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yeah. September the 3rd. They have a garden club meeting there on the 4th, but they got a lot of other stuff. They play for the kids out there. They have trail running with Lone Star Trail Runners, sunrise coffee at the farm, volunteer at the farm. They've had so many great events there at Milliken Reserve, so you don't have to live there to take advantage of the awesome community that is Milliken Reserve. Their mission is to build a healthy community around nature, 2,600 acres of open space, 30 miles of trails. They want to connect families to nature and to each other with an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks, ponds, and gathering areas. To learn more, go to millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Dr. Pepper National Championship Trophy is going to be with us here for one more segment before they go to both Walmarts in College Station and in Bryan, and I think they're hanging out at game day. It's time for the Freak and the Sleeper of the Week. We'll start things off with the Freak of the Week, Steve McKinney.
The Freak of the Week. Hey, right on cue.
That was good.
That was good.
Dude, he goes, hey, like that was a good ending to it.
That was so great. Mine, this may not be a surprise, but I think Nick Scorton is going to be the Freak of the Week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's think about it, dude. The guy led Big Ten in sacks last year. He's coming home, man. His first game at Kyle Field.
Be fired up.
This guy, he's going to be playing out of his mind. Like, there is no way this guy gets out of this game without at least one sack. He would be the guy on the sideline crying, like weeping after a win if he doesn't get a sack in this game. So I'm going Nick Scorton is going to be the Freak of the Week.
I like it.
Seth?
I'm going to go.
Oh, wait.
Let me just throw one more in there.
Oh.
That's why you just name it, people. I'm going to you're pulling a Billy. Hold on. I just got one more. No. That's right.
We were going to do like two each and shut you out. Okay.
No, wait. I'm next.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Seth, you're screwing the whole plan up here, buddy.
Connor, man. I'm going with Connor.
Okay.
He's going to be the Freak of the Week for sure on my end. He's going to go out there with a new offensive system, which I am tremendously excited just to see what it all means. I mean, like, I've watched all this stuff on YouTube about Colin Klein's offense, and I've, like, tried to watch it in practice and figure out exactly what the scheme is. It's going to take a little bit of sitting and actually watching a whole game progress to go, okay, this is what we're doing. But I'm excited just to see what is going to happen out there and whether he's going to be running the ball a lot, which he can do, or whether he's going to be asked to pass the ball more, which he can also do. So I'm tremendously excited, and I think he's going to be the Freak of the Week for sure.
I think if Connor Wigman has what an opportunity for not only A&M but for him as a quarterback. If you have a game against this defense and that logo and that leprechaun and that history with College Game Day in prime time in front of 100,000+ on season opening weekend, I think a lot of questions, a lot of narratives about this A&M football team in year one under Mike Elko will change. Because then, if A&M wins 17-13 and we're all going to be thrilled, and Connor Wigman will be happier than any of us. But if it's that type game and it's, a struggle and it's just kind of a battle of attrition and the Aggies win, great for Connor, great for Elko, great for the program, great for the fans. But if it's a game where he plays really well, and I'm not talking about 400 yards but if he's the best player on the field tomorrow night, what does that do for how this team is viewed moving forward? Because then people will start to think.
Well, it answers a huge question about the most important position in football.
Yep.
Quarterback.
My Freak of the Week, since y'all went with those two, I'm going to go. I'm doing two of them. I'm sorry. I'm going Bryce. I'm going Bryce Anderson, who we haven't mentioned this whole show.
Yep.
Who's coming back as a junior. He's moved off that nickel spot. Elko said it this offseason very bluntly. He's like, he's a safety. He's not a nickel. He's my safety. And I think he's going to be the quarterback of this defense along with York. I like Bryce Anderson to get an interception or to somehow be involved in a turnover defensively and make some big plays for this defense on Saturday night. And then my other guy is Shamar Stewart. You talk about Scorton, DJ Hicks, Albert Regis. I mentioned Cassius Howell. I think Shamar Stewart is going to be a guy that maybe there's extra attention paid to Nick Scorton. If you do that at your own risk, because number 4 might cause an absolute damn scene in there. Shamar Turner taking some of that heat, and then all of a sudden here's
so many guys
4.
to choose up front there.
Shamar Stewart could have a one of those type games. Remember when Miles Garrett? Okay, he had 2.5, 3 sacks. Guess who had 4 against Arizona State in the season opener? Deshaun Hall. I think it could be one of those type games where, yes, we are talking about Scorton for great reason, Shamar Stewart might say, don't forget about me, guys.
Yeah.
All right, now time for the sleeper of the week, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jerry McLeod and ask about the Tempur-Pedic and Purple mattress in the Specs parking lot at Texas and Harvey, and in front of the Lowe's at William D. Fitch and Highway 6 website, thesleepstation.com.
I'm going to see the Sleep Station.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I need to.
I do too.
I've been sleeping bad. I've been hearing about this guy that I'm going to pick for about 3 years.
How'd he go?
From my younger brother, Sean, who coaches at Centerville.
Can I guess?
Oh, no, you don't have to guess. I think we all know who this kid is. He's like one of those small town East Texas legends like Rodney Thomas or Leonard Davis. You know what I mean? Ed Jasper. Just coming in, dominating
McKinney,
2A football.
Centerville.
And that's Terry Bussey, man. I can't wait. I don't know. Like, really, whatever they do with him is going to be fine, but he's going to be a sleeper for sure because, I don't know, he's a freshman. I mean, I think everybody's awake for this kid, but
no, he's
I'm
a
excited
sleeper
to see
because
him.
no one's really going to know what side of the ball, what phase of the game he's going to be utilized in, and that's something that they've really done a job of kind of saying like, hey, we're going to work him everywhere. And he's going to do a little bit of everything. And he's shown as a freshman, he's capable of that. He's a freaking future star.
Yeah.
Steve?
Well, my sleeper of the week is going to be Amari Daniels.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Because I think it's easy to say, Le'Veon Moss is.
It's not deep sleep, Seth. He only led the team in rushing last
Yeah.
year.
Well, my bad.
Exactly why he's a
not
sleeper.
what I'm going for.
Because people like Seth don't even realize what the impact a guy like him could have on this season. Because we're going to need him, right, to step up. I mean, Le'Veon Moss, love the guy, great running back, strong, hard runner. Gets banged up a lot, unfortunately. Amari Daniels has got.
Well, and because of that, you understand that, and you're going to split the load.
He's not going to be a guy they're going to give 30 carries to. So they are going to split the load. I just see Amari Daniels as a great change of pace type guy. He may not have Olympic level speed, but he has, I think, elite vision. Mm-hmm. He is very good about anticipating where the holes are going to come open, and he takes advantage of those. And he does run hard. So I mean, I look for Amari Daniels to have a good game tomorrow night. I could see that.
William?
I've kind of already mentioned Cassius Howell.
Yeah.
And I think he could be a guy. So I'm going to try to think of someone else to. It's hard to put O-lineman as a sleeper of the week. I think I'm going to go with tight end Trey Watson.
Okay.
I'm excited about him and Theo. I'm excited about the tight end in this Colin Klein offense in general.
Where did this guy come from? I don't even know.
Fresno State.
Okay.
And he was committed to Washington. I think
he was already on campus.
He was at Washington. Kalen DeBoer was taking him at Washington.
Was on the sidelines of the national championship game with Kalen DeBoer and the team there.
Really? Wow.
And then Kalen DeBoer left to Bama. He got out of that. Came to A&M to join his former teammate Jalen Henderson from Fresno. And I just think he can be a weapon in the passing game. I know Notre Dame has a nice tight end in Mitchell Evans. I think he's a beast, and he's going to be a problematic matchup for the Aggies. I think Trey Watson can be a problematic matchup for that Notre Dame defense as well.
Nice.
I like it.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Pick 6, brought to you by Prize Picks. Right now, we're talking Chance McClain and Heritage Films. They make documentary films about families. They do it about family businesses, family ranches. So this weekend, when you're heading out to the tailgate, getting ready for, you know him quite well. He did one for your daughter's wedding, okay. Yeah. And he also did the Steve McKinney song.
He did.
That was a great song.
Inside Skinny.
But he's got a Heritage Films that they do documentary films about families. They're the best, I'm telling you, the best at doing these documentaries. So this weekend, it'd be cool to have Chance there to kind of document as you get ready for A&M games and tailgating with your kids out there throwing the ball, enjoying the food. Chance can do that story. He can do your family business story, your grandfather's story, your dad's story, and of course a wedding, as Steve just mentioned. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. So as a reminder, we're about to do our Pick Six, and that will usually go long. So if you are listening on The Zone, we hope you keep it with Louie, but also go to the YouTube channel or TexAgs.com. And you can continue watching with us as we go through these. All right, now it's time for the Pick Six, presented by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and use the code TexAgs to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in the lineups. And this is for everybody who is joining on with the code TexAgs. All right, McKinley Polanski at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You've got our games for us. Why don't you start it off with game number one?
Number one is number 1 Georgia versus number 14 Clemson.
And the spread?
Line? Spread is 13.5.
Oh, yes, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is a neutral location, and they are favored by 13.5 points.
Okay, the Dogs by 13.5.
Give me Georgia.
Pick against Georgia.
I'm picking Georgia. That's
Now, David Pollack gave me something interesting to think about. There's some injuries, and Etienne isn't playing. So they're not 100% ready to roll, but he still thinks they'll roll because that's how they recruit.
Yeah. It's so hard to pick against Georgia, but I think people have quit on Dabo too soon. By the way, do you like my duck hat?
I do.
Duck camp hat. You guys are scared to put a hat on.
Well, my hair is very. We didn't come in here wearing a hat like you did.
That's true. It's a fair point.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Another fair point is that I think people are giving up, not giving up, but I think expectations have been lowered for Cade Klubnik. And I still think that dude's got something in him to be great. With that said, it's Georgia. I think they're going to have an absolutely smothering defense again this year. And so it's going to be hard for Clemson to score. I like Georgia to cover. Maybe a competitive game, but Georgia's still to pull away and cover.
Yeah. McKinley?
Number 2 is number 8 Penn State at West Virginia, and Penn State was favored by 8.5 points.
This one really scares me because I think Penn State is probably pretty good, but I really don't know enough about West Virginia to pick that one. But I know they played them pretty close last year up at Penn State. So
I'll say this. So what are you doing?
I was gonna wait to hear y'all's feedback.
I went with West Virginia.
My feedback is this. I'm torn. I got to hang out with James Franklin in Vegas this Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah. Any insight?
Loved him. Really impressive.
Though?
Great
Did he love
dude.
his team though?
Knew a lot about A&M. A lot. Was very familiar with A&M from his time at Vandy. The Texas job. He was about to land that one. He knows Elijah Robinson and the roster. That has nothing to do with this game. I just like the dude. I want to go to a game at Penn State this year, Steve. You're invited. You can be my guest.
Penn State would be a pretty cool place to go.
I'm going to pick, not only anyone's pick, I'm picking Penn State.
With that said, I'm picking West Virginia.
You
know why? Because it's in Morgantown. Pat McAfee is not here in College Station. I guess he's here now. He flew in late last night. McAfee... Or no, he's not here right now. They're doing the show in West Virginia. He's flying in late tonight. They have shut down school in Morgantown, West Virginia for the Pat McAfee show.
Are you serious?
They shut down school for a podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
Or a YouTube show, not a podcast. That's how big this deal is. Penn State coming in there. That's what a big deal this is. One of the toughest places to play in the country. I like West Virginia to cover, Penn State to win.
Yeah, I think I'm going there too. You've convinced me.
I'm sticking with my pick. Penn State.
You have to now.
Keep it on YouTube, by the
New
way.
rule.
Bye to Brian Broadcasting in The Zone. We'll see you on Monday. McKinley, game number 2. 3, excuse me.
Number 19 Miami at Florida, and Miami is favored by 2.5 points.
I'm going to take Florida.
That's exactly.
I mean, I got to think they're going to bounce back from last year. They got to be sick of hearing all the trash talk all off season. In Miami, with Cristobal, they just, I can't get behind that.
I can't either. I'm picking Florida.
That quarterback is dynamic at Miami, though.
Who
Cam
is it?
Ward. who was at Washington State last year. He's the truth.
I've talked to some people that would disagree with you.
Okay.
Football people. They're like, not sold on him.
Well, he does fumble the ball a lot. 40 fumbles in 4 years.
What?
40 fumbles.
Like
fumbles?
Turnovers?
No, just 40 fumbles.
Wow, that's a lot.
I like Graham Mertz more than most people. I think he's a very solid college quarterback. I think Florida's desperate. I think everyone's written them off. That is a tough position to be in. Miami went nuts in the portal. There's something about Shannon Dawson as an OC, and I did like Miami's O-line seemed to start to look more like a Cristobal O-line. I think Miami goes in there and wins a very close one. Because of that, I'm actually going to pick Florida. I mean, I'm talking about 1-2 points, and then that gives me a little bit of if I'm wrong and Florida wins. So I'm going to pick Florida to cover, but barely. Like Miami, I don't even know who I'm picking to win that game. I'm going to pick Miami, but really close. The Swamp's going to be freaking rocking. This is.
I mean, how close can it get, dude? They're favored by what, 2.5?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a 1 or 2 point game. Like I think it's going to be that close. So that's why
Like
I'm
a last
saying
second
I may as well
1.1.
go with Florida because then that gives me all that side of it as well. Man, it's tough to win on the road early in the season, week 1. So Miami's up against that. Notre Dame's up against that. Penn State's up against that. This is not one of these neutral site early season games like Clemson, Georgia's neutral, right? That's Atlanta. And then LSU, USC. That's different, which, by the way, I think we might be about to talk about that one.
McKinley.
Number 23 USC versus number 13 LSU at Allegiant Stadium, which is a neutral location. And LSU is favored by 4.5.
Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this, but I don't know. I mean, like Florida, I mean, LSU, I don't know their quarterback situation. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine.
LSU's?
Yeah. Are they getting this kid back? Are they getting this kid back?
It's Nussmeier.
Gary Nussmeier.
What do you mean back? Where'd he go?
No, I'm talking about the kid that played us last year.
Yeah, what was his name?
Jaden Daniels, the
Jaden Daniels
Heisman
in
winner.
the NFL.
That kid.
Yeah, that kid.
Are they getting him back?
You mean the guy that got drafted
Yeah.
in like the top
Good.
5? Yeah.
Good, he's gone.
He's not going to be there.
So I'm picking USC is what I'm trying to get to.
He really prepped this year.
I love it. The
Walrus
is back.
I care about A&M. All right?
Jaden Daniels is going to be really tough for the Aggies and
Who's
USC
that guy
to
that
stop.
quarterback for him
Well,
last
that's what I didn't say that. I said they got a new quarterback, and then you acted like they didn't have that. Yes, I did.
Is that guy from last year back? Or
No, I didn't. I
Garrett
said that after y'all
Nussmeier.
acted like
Garrett
idiots about it.
Nussmeier.
Okay, fine.
Who started their bowl game.
Thank you, Seth.
I like Nussmeier and this LSU offense. And I think the best unit on the field for both teams will be the LSU offensive line. So I think when push comes to shove early in the season, I don't trust Lincoln Riley. I think Brian Kelly teams are typically going to be better coached, maybe not more. Lincoln Riley I trust with offense, but that LSU defense stunk last year. It was so bad. And that'll be the big test is can USC exploit and go up and down the field. But with a new QB at USC also, by the way, Seth, Caleb Russell got drafted. Seth's really looking forward to this Caleb Russell, Jake Daniels matchup. Caleb Williams. We got our old linebacker.
Thank you, Walrus. I was trying to think who Caleb Russell was.
Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels
Me too. I was
in
like,
Vegas.
who's Caleb Russell?
The last two Heisman winners dueling it out in Vegas. It's going to be a preview of maybe what's to come in the NFL.
Hey,
I'm excited about it.
Reminds me of a great country song, What Might Have Been.
But I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels and LSU in this one.
Jaden Daniels, okay.
I'm gonna take Daniels against Williams.
I'm going Caleb Williams. It's gonna be good. I think future 1-2 NFL pick, something like that.
Yeah.
Close.
McKinley.
My goodness.
Boston College
It's
at
McKinley and the McKinneys.
Yep.
The McKinleys.
And then we have another intern, Jackson, when they're together.
McKinley Jackson.
There you go. Billy doesn't care.
I would rather have a Wilson Phillips.
That'd be good.
All in Oates.
Yeah.
I got nothing after.
All right, McKinley, you can go now.
Jodeci.
Boston College at number 10, Florida State. And Florida State is favored by 15.5 points.
Bill O'Brien, ladies and gentlemen.
Boston College.
Give me BC.
BC.
OB.
That's at Florida State?
Yep. They came back from Ireland. They drank a lot of pints of Guinness. They got that ass whooped by the King, Haynes King.
The King.
Georgia Tech.
Brained.
Hangover, literally and physically. Jet lag for a couple days. Bill O'Brien goes in there and Florida State wins. Boston College covers.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say the same thing. I'm thinking back to 1995 when 1996 when we flew up to BYU, lost that game, and we thought man, we're gonna turn things around this next game, and then we went out and lost that one too. So I'm gonna go with we came back and did two-a-days.
Yeah, I was about to say, was that before or after y'all did two-a-days again?
We came back and did two-a-days, and then we went out and lost again. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Boston College to cover.
I think we all did. Nice.
So you lost to Sark.
Yes.
You got Sark.
And I would use the word we very loosely.
Because the offense scored a lot.
We scored plenty.
And then you lost to, do you take a lot of credit for offense in that Louisiana Lafayette game?
The one where Brandon threw three pick sixes.
A lot of fumbles.
Multiple pick sixes. No, I don't take credit for that.
Bad blocking.
Do you guys realize who the head coach at Boston College is, though?
Who?
Yes.
I know you do, but I don't think they've heard.
Who?
Bill O'Brien.
Oh.
Bill O'Brien?
Yeah. So
I'm changing my pick.
Seth probably thinks it's Tom Coughlin.
No, Tom Coughlin. No, I'm thinking Florida State now.
I'm out.
Glenn Foley, quarterback.
I'm sticking with
Who is Glenn Foley?
He was a quarterback for Tom Coughlin.
Oh, okay. I'm not saying that name sound familiar, but it's an old name.
Yep, old school.
What about Mick Foley?
And finally,
Nick Foley.
Number 7, Notre Dame at number 20, Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is favored by 3.5 points.
3.5 now?
I am going to.
My goodness.
Oh, man. Just cry me a river. I'm going to pick A&M to win and cover this deal. Oof. I think Notre Dame is coming into a hornet's nest, and our offensive line is going to be prepared much better than last year. Our defensive line is going to wreck shop against this young offensive line, and our crowd is going to overwhelm these Notre Dame players. So, boom, A&M cover and win.
Can we get these idiots to maybe be a little quieter in the back when
Billy's
we're on there?
very frustrated.
Is this a new Nick? Can you get some control over there?
Thank you.
And I want to know who was doing the yelling, because I feel like Broninger would have been actively involved in that. The loudest talker in the Brazos Valley.
The loudest.
Now they give those awards every year.
He gets
would be
it.
there.
Best of the Brazos.
Best of the Brazos. Blabbermouth, Jabberjaws of the Valley.
The Dundee Award.
Again, this is hard for me because I've been saying for a month, 3 weeks now, I think A&M wins this game 21-17. The score I keep landing on is 23-20. I'm between 3 and 4 points. Vegas put it at 3.5. This is what they do.
23, huh?
That's what they do.
Yeah, I'm going A&M, but
a random.
There's
thing
something
to
I
say.
have philosophically. I feel wrong about picking Notre Dame to cover, picking against A&M, because I think the Aggies are going to win this game. I just think it's going to be that close. But I'm going to sacrifice a potential pick here. I think the game's going to be that close.
Don't sacrifice. Pick with your heart.
I think it's Notre Dame to cover, and A&M wins by a field goal. I truly believe that. If it's 27-24, that'll be a higher scoring game to me. Yeah. I think it's 23-20. I think it's 20-17. It might be a race to 20 in this one, but I like the Aggies to win, but by 3 points, not by 4.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And I'm right there with you. I was thinking 21-24 coming in today. I think we're going to win by 3. I think it'll come down to the last drive, and we could see another Alabama type.
You know what this sounds like?
Game
TexAgs Live Radio, a bunch of negative Nancys.
No,
over
we're
here.
not negative.
You're picking Notre Dame
to cover.
Okay.
I'll go so far as I think it's going to come down to Notre Dame's down 3. They get the ball.
You're giving yourself a lot of cover too, by the way.
Back in their own territory. And Texas A&M defense forces a turnover, a sack of Riley Leonard,
All right,
a
I hope
fumble.
you're happy.
Aggie recovered, kneel it out,
I
game
hope
over.
y'all go undefeated in y'all's picks, man.
I
It's great. I hope you're happy
You
about it.
see what he's doing here? This is good. I believe that's what we call gaslighting.
Just real quick, 2 years ago, I think you won, right?
Yes.
Yeah, last year.
By the way, when did
You won?
did you really?
I did.
Man, we didn't even do anything for
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to start. Treating us with a little
Hey,
more.
well, like, we wanted
respect.
to act like last year didn't happen, all right? So I think there was a lackluster excitement.
That is true.
Just A&M football.
And then we need to set some parameters here. Like when does the season end? Is it after the championship games?
I think last year we ended right after the week 12.
Yeah, but then y'all made us pick the bowl games too. Like
we're not doing that.
I think you should have
I
like
think
a
that was just a way
championship.
for me to try to catch up.
You have a champion, probably. You have a championship weekend deal, and then you have like a playoff as his own situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Separate bowl
separate
game.
tournament.
Separate bowl
By the way,
tournament.
Jamie McCoy joining us in the pick six, so he'll be one of the six.
And I think I've got another group. Okay, so this Avenue Sports crew got pissed because I was ridiculing them for their excessive drinking. So that Dallas crew and several Aggies there, they're going to pick against us as an aggregate.
Do
I know these
There's
people?
like 4 Aggies in there.
What do you mean
We're going to have a
aggregate?
couple of them, I think, on the fan show.
Like they're going to
next
pick
week.
all those 4 are going to pick one.
They're going to pick. They're going to be one entity.
Okay.
And so it's going to be. They're going to be in the pick six every week. The Avenue.
Oh,
So there you go.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Good luck. Good luck to you guys.
I think this is it.
And if they're as drunk as they usually are, they'll probably pick better than us.
Post-game wrap after the game tomorrow on TexAgs.com and on YouTube, obviously. We'll have CT, Leone, and I think Chris Harrington's going to join us. So there you go. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll call her today. See you next time.